tonight, or today, on 8.5-bit, sex, blood, and wonder.
Ooh.
Welcome, friends of all designs, to episode 289 of 8.5-bit. I'm your host, Paul, and today are my good friends James.
Hello.
And Sam.
Hi.
And the games I randomly decided to reference in the opening were, of course, Sex, Subverse, which I hope Sam has lots of thoughts about, Blood and Truth, because it was the game I saw on my list that I did in the intro. And, of course, the real wonder, the real game I want to talk about for 90% of today is, of course, Balan Wonderworld.
For sure.
Oh, my lord. But before we get to that, how are you boys doing?
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah,
Just the usual.
pretty good.
This is the band that people tune in for.
I've been my latest obsession is now buying old hardware. So I've been playing stuff on a DS again, and I now have two DSs because I also have a DSi.
You have a 2DS?
Yeah, oh no, I do not have a 2DS. And I have my GPA SP. So I think I'm done now. Like I was thinking of like what like nostalgic hardware, like handheld hardware, do I want?
Game Gear.
Now see, but I have no nostalgia for it. So I think I'm actually okay.
What about one of those little like
Go get an
bubble
N-Gage.
games? So you gotta.
Oh, maybe because I did like
Yeah.
them.
What about you got N-Gage games?
I do. I do have a couple of N-Gage games. They've never been loaded.
Sweet.
But
yeah.
but from the hardware I've got now, I've got basically all the Game Boy like covered. Because I don't really need anything older than the SP, because it'll play Game Boy games. Though, funnily enough, I don't really want to play SP games on the SP, because the screen isn't as good as the DS. So you kind of want to just play it on a generation behind.
You have enough hardware so that any Game Boy related game you pick up, you can play it on the hardware that is best to play it on.
Though I did go, right, well, if I want to go back and get like a bunch of old DS games, like what do I want? Like what are like these? There's a lot of games on DS, right? So there must be this giant catalog of DS games that I want. And looking through the whole catalog,
so James is moving on from big box to tiny box.
Well, that is actually part of it. It's much easier to store tiny
A lot less
boxes.
space.
But I was actually a little surprised at like looking through the DS catalog. There is a lot of shit in there. Like I'd say like more than a lot of platforms. Like if you look at like the set, there are a lot of very good games.
What would the platform with the least amount of shit on it be? The percentage wise of the catalog?
Maybe
Depends on your definition of
maybe
shit.
Wii U,
Virtual Boy.
Virtual Boy,
because it's got 5 games and they're all okay.
Maybe Wii U because it didn't have a lot of like shovelware support.
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah. There are some really weird,
we're just looking
trashy
at
games on Wii U,
unsuccessful
though.
consoles.
Yeah. But the problem is the DS was so successful.
It's PS2 category.
It's a massive amount of shovelware. So yeah, I was actually kind of a bit taken back. Of like, not to say there are not good games on the DS. There are a lot of good games. It's just the library is so huge. You would never want a complete collection.
He has a library, and it was broken into country of release. Down to like, I was very excited to see Finland on the list.
Specific.
Yeah, very specific.
If you want to play a Finnish game.
Don't play 99% of the DS
most
games.
Most of them are rubbish.
Yep. I had a huge collection, and I still know that most games on the DS were rubbish because it was very popular. But that also kind of tied into what I was doing this week, which was panicking. Because it's not even announced yet. The rumor is... getting into news a little bit early. The rumor is that Sony will be shutting down later this year the stores for PS3, PSP, and PS Vita.
Oh no!
And I am someone that has quite an extensive PS Vita collection, and because of that, I obviously don't have it all downloaded because you have to have the memory cards that Sony made, and they're small and expensive. So I was like, well, if they shut down the store, which is still not announced. And possibly even after they shut it down, you'll still be able to download your existing purchases.
Just might not be able to buy it.
Yes. Yeah. So I may be panicking for no reason, but I'm like, okay, well, how do I... Surely someone's got a storage solution. And I found it, and it's a SD card converter, but it doesn't go in the memory slot. It goes in the game slot.
Okay.
So step one. But it also mainly supports the firmware that's very popular with hacking, which I am past. So then it was time for Paul to learn how to soft mod his PS Vita. So now I've got everything installed and it's rolled back to the right firmware. It spoofs the new firmware. I'm ready for my little converter to come and then I can go and download all my games.
This is my fear with Nintendo and the Switch.
Oh,
because
be prepared to be
their
afraid.
online service just disappears.
Yeah, because like I trust, like, say, I don't know, Microsoft or...
You mean Microsoft just shut down Xbox?
No, well, they renamed it, didn't they?
No, you can't log on to Xbox anymore.
Steam. I expect my Steam library well, because there's the detachment from any particular hardware. Nintendo, I'm fully expecting at some point.
At some point, the Switch eShop will be offline.
Yeah. And we are in this really weird position now where we've transitioned to mostly digital purchases, and I guess like we can lose it all now.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary, though. I mean, this where we are now could also just be a transitional period into subscription. Anyway,
yeah, because if you're subscribing, then if they close down services, you haven't owned anything anyway, so it's not a big deal. But also, so far, all the things that have shut down, it's been very easy to just go and get all the things. Yeah. Well, and also, even with my Vita, I like panicked. Like, the amount of unique games in my Vita that were just Vita games and not on anything else that I don't already own another copy on PC or on Switch or something, that's a very short list.
Yeah.
Like the PS3, I was like, oh, shit, I gotta get all my PS3 games that Okay, so Tokyo Jungle and and I guess we're done. Because I own better copies of those games on other things.
Copy of PT.
Well, that wasn't PS3. It's PS4.
No, that's right. It's PS4. Right.
Yeah, got to preserve that PS4 forever for that game that I didn't give a glowing review when it came out. But still, it's such a cultural artifact. People are going to be trying to get that.
Flappy Bird on.
Yeah,
PS4s with PT. Same thing.
I do actually have my PS4 Pro with PT packed away now because I do expect like
storage,
20, 30 years time.
History.
If I can like bust out myself a PS4 with PT, probably not going to be too many of them around.
If my PS4 didn't constantly like try to turn itself on and eject a disc that doesn't exist inside it, I might be more interested maybe selling it on.
The trick with things like that is like it's great if there's not very many of them, but you also still have to find someone who wants it.
Yeah.
It's the hardest part.
Yeah.
You got to find a buyer.
All these people speculating on these things will be worth a lot in a long time and bundling them away and.
It's funny looking at the games on eBay, like what's expensive and what's not. Like I found things like Chrono Trigger for DS. Oh, that one's pretty expensive. Like, if you have a copy, that's about $100 or something.
I've got a copy, but I'm not going to sell it because I like it.
But Puzzle Quest Galactics, $8.
What?
Shipping. Like that was like delivered $8.
Jeez, that's a good game.
I know. I haven't played that.
It was.
Puzzle
I don't
Quest
think it was
much.
as strong as Puzzle Quest.
No,
it was still pretty good.
It
was a slightly different layout, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hex based, which made it a little bit trickier to kind of get the fall.
Not quite as readable.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm actually pretty keen to play it. It's like $8, sure.
Yeah. So buy old DSs and hack your Vita. That is the lesson of today. Okay, we've actually got quite a lot of stuff to do. So I feel like newsiness. Should we get into some news? I got a long list.
Yeah,
we might take a break, but knowing me, we probably won't. We'll just go through it because it's fun. Okay, first up, time to get on your angry hats, boys. Disco Elysium has been refused classification in Australia and is illegal to sell and buy.
Boo.
Boo. Good thing I bought it a year and a half ago.
I have it on PC.
Yeah. So the final cut was going through classification because it is a game being released on console and physical. So it had to get classified in this country, which it previously hadn't been. And of course, they said no.
So what was the reason it was not back?
Drugs.
But drugs were in the other version, right?
But that wasn't refused classification. It wasn't classified. There's a difference. It was not classified, not refused classification.
It was unclassified.
Yeah.
So So why does this one have to be classified?
Because it was going on consoles and being released officially on stores.
Okay.
You don't have to do it on Steam.
Yeah. Okay.
And even if you do, you can just ignore it because. So because it was getting a wider release and more public release, it's now banned. And drug-wise, it's very, very clear why it would be banned because lots of things in that game say, you're not good enough for that. But maybe if you have some drugs...
some drugs that are named after real drugs.
Yeah, have some real drugs. And because it is potentially the best game writing ever, I probably should have said, it, of course, is far more complex and interesting and intricate than I will just take speed to make myself better at doing darts.
Yeah. But that's all the board sees.
That's all the board sees, yeah. They just go like, oh, drugs, positive influence, banned. And even if you wanted to go the Fallout route of, well, we'll just change Morphine's name in the config file. We'll call it MedX. That'll work. The whole point of the Final Cut is they've voiced every single line in that game, which would mean every time they mention a drug, which is a lot, they would have to re-record that line, or at least someone go through and do a very funny beep over the top or something. It's like chips,
just white noise.
Yeah.
Like.
So, I just want to subvert it with other things. Yeah, it's just like, oh man, I really need a dose of docs.
Just have like a repository of the words. It just swaps one in at random.
I think it's an opportunity for some corporate sponsorship.
Microsoft Xbox. Nothing makes me feel full perked up in the morning than a big glass of Johnson's baby formula. So yes, you cannot buy that at a store in Australia. Now, here's a just general piece of information with nothing to do with that last thing. Every single console that exists is region free, and you can just go onto their stores and make an account in a different region, and you'll have to buy point cards from overseas to buy things. But that's not hard. And it's not illegal.
Completely unrelated. Did you know you can buy things from other countries?
You can just buy things from, including New Zealand, where I don't think they sometimes they get releases that even though they're banned in Australia, which otherwise are exactly the same as Australian releases. Yeah, just for your information, nothing to do with anything else. But it does suck because it does mean that it is going to hurt people getting it in this country because a lot of people do just buy games at stores. Yeah. And they can't do that for that game. And they should, because it's a fucking great game.
And I think Switch will be a good platform for it.
Yeah, I will compare the exchange rate between America and UK and buy the one that is...
Everyone's more beneficial.
Yeah. But that said, the Switch version's not coming out for a while. It's only on PlayStation and PC, obviously, because it's getting a free update to take it to this version. But yeah, PlayStation release is I suppose I'm going to try and release that this episode today, so it's the 28th today. I think it comes out on the 31st. So, yeah, we'll see how many times I can buy that game.
At least once more.
Yeah, I love my little collection of banned DVDs. They're not even movies I like most of the time. It's like, fuck you.
Just having them.
How dare you say I can't.
It's your little way to rebel.
I was annoyed when they unban things that they ban. I'm like, oh, why did I buy it then?
Get rid of this piece of shit now.
I don't need to own Anatomy of Hell. This movie is trash. Gamescom has been announced. It is happening. It is happening in person, but also happening digitally because I think they realize they're not going to get the numbers and people coming over to Cologne as they normally do. But hey, I like an event.
Yeah, you do love your conferences.
I fucking love them.
You get real excited.
I had two this week. So excited. They were both kind of disappointing in their own ways. Can't wait to get to those ones. They're at the end of my list. We might take breaks before we do those ones. Okay, because it's been a while, a few fun things. So Microsoft acquired ZeniMax officially. I think we might have said that last episode.
I think it was the pipe last time, but now it's done.
Oh no, it was done because I was talking about on Z Games how the night before I had said it could happen any time, and between the time of me recording it and releasing it, it happened. I'm like, well, it was 4 hours after I recorded it. But that resulted in most of Bethesda's modern catalog getting dumped into Game Pass, with a few exceptions. Being like Wolfenstein and another one, like Evil Within 2, I think, because they're currently on like Sony, the Sony Game Pass thing that no one uses. Obviously we remember it because it's a great service that everyone uses. I mean, it can't be that bad because it's not even because it started as a streaming thing and you can just download them now, but they like never got the messaging out, so to the point that we don't remember what it's called.
PlayStation Now.
Yeah, that's the one, PlayStation Now. So that's joined, but also EA Play has now officially been added to PC Game Pass, so you can get everything that's on EA Play's lowest tier, which is the majority of their collection, not their new releases. It's all bundled into Game Pass, and it's a shitload of stuff.
Game Pass really is
It really kicks the llama's ass.
Yeah, that's the one.
Let's call back to our conversation the other day, Paul.
That's for all you Winamp freaks out there. So yeah, it really does make cool. But on that, there were a couple of weird things. So One, this wasn't part of either of those deals, so Nier Automata went up the other week. Man. It is a much better port than the port that's on Steam.
It's actually good.
Then
what's a good PC version.
What's fixed about it?
Everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't need a fan patch to make it work.
Yeah, the PC version was kind of broken. But
so why is there a difference between these versions?
I think
it's a new port.
They've ported the console version.
Yeah. It's a Windows Universal app.
Okay.
Because it's just the Xbox version, basically.
Yeah.
But the PC versions on Steam is like the attempt at porting it.
Yeah.
And
basically, they did...
Poor job.
Yeah, they ported that version, and it wasn't great. And then they said, well, we're done anyway. And then when it was moving over to Game Pass, they ported it for the Microsoft Store from the Xbox version, which have not only had other updates since the other, it also was a completely different port. Yeah, it runs under Windows Universal App as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
So it's like, and people will be like, hey, well, give us that version on Steam. But because it's kind of a different thing, they can't just patch it. They'd have to actually release it as a different product, which they probably should. Because it's a bit shitty. Speaking of that, though, there was one other game, which was Evil Within, which has a shitload of changes that aren't in the Steam version. Because, again, it's the console version, including a bunch of accessibility options and stuff. Just weird things like you can turn the length that stamina lasts up in that game now.
So you can run longer.
Yeah. Because it was 3 seconds originally, and I was like, that's pretty short. Now you can change it. It's like, yeah. So, hey, if you got Game Pass, you can do those things. Okay. Activision Blizzard lays off at the same time of giving Kotick $200 million bonus.
Yeah, how many people was it?
So they originally said 50 people from the esports division, and then they said, there might be an additional 143 from elsewhere around the place.
Just a couple extra.
So he got a little over $1 million per person he fired.
This was news enough that my mum told me about it.
Really?
Yeah, I found out about this from mum.
Wow.
Who, she plays some games, but she's not a gamer.
No, she's not hooked into the news cycle.
No, but she heard about this one.
Fucking
somehow.
Bobby Kotick.
Yeah.
He has lots of money already.
You don't need more.
I like there was a comparison between earnings, and we had Nintendo CEO at $2.8 million a year or something, and then Kotick, because the $200 million is our bonus. That's not his wage.
That's just the extra.
That's the extra money he's getting.
You did a good job. Have this.
Wait, is that hard cash or stock?
That was in stock options and such, and it was from over a 4-year period.
Yeah.
So it was only $50 million of stuff per year. Which is capitalism is broken.
It's broken. Yeah. It is very broken right now.
Because the thing what I liked about the comparison with
all that money will trickle on down.
Come down. Yeah. He'll give it to his gardener, and his gardener will give it to
that's how it works.
To the subway man, and then the subway man will give it to the Congress. And
it's one of the things that I don't get angry about when rich people buy stupidly expensive things anymore. Like when I see a mansion that someone spent $70 million on. At least they're not sitting on the money like a dragon.
Yeah, but I mean, slight pathway tangent away from our normal stuff. I've spent the last month or so really digging into how rich people do their thing, and it's not good. The tax avoidance and the way they do it is just. It's why liquidate your shares when you can just borrow shit tons of money on the fact that you have the shares and not pay taxes?
Rich people are really good at using the
loopholes are insane.
When they evade the iframes, they're really good at just getting them with tax.
They dodge roll all the time.
Can't get around it. I feel like I'd just be a really unsuccessful rich person if I suddenly had money. I'd just be I guess I'll just pay my taxes and pay for things that I want.
I'm just gonna follow the law.
I feel like I could still remain rich, but I just would be. The rich people would be like, "What are you doing? You don't have to." I'm like, "I don't," but I have all this money. Okay, so Bobby Kotick sucks, and part of that also was basically Activision Blizzard. Not completely bailing, but mostly bailing out of the esports scene.
Yeah. Because that's been coming for a while, though.
Yeah, and I get it too. That especially at the moment, you don't want all those. Most of those people are sitting around because they can't run events. Or,
they can't organize events or anything.
Events and
yes, it must be harder than anyone doing any sort of exhibition or live event or anything at the moment. It's at
some point it's going to be a drain on funding. It's just the flip side that it turned into a massive payout.
And
a bit weird.
my bias is still that esports as a whole is like mostly propped up by organized crime and gambling.
Probably, yeah.
And when it actually gets like the raw numbers out there, other than a couple of key events which do like turn a profit, and it's like most of it's driving pretty hard struggle street at the moment. Sony bought Evo.
Yeah.
So on the flip side, some things cannot die. And one of them is Evo, which was in a position where it might have been safer to die with some of the scandals surrounding those involved and everything.
This is the fighting game one, isn't it?
Yes, fighting game. And it has been bought now by Sony and another... They've joint bought it. I can't remember who the other startup sort of esports thing is. So, kind of good, because there has been some bad stuff there. And Sony has become the de facto console that most... PlayStation, not Sony, sorry, has become the de facto that most games are played on at Evo, with the exceptions, obviously, of like your Smash Bros. And that bring in big numbers. But also, they've, at the moment at least, you never know where things are going to go. They're pretty much like, no, we don't have any... We have no policies of not supporting other people's consoles and projects at Evo. Or anything. Now, whether or not Nintendo wants to partake, they barely want to partake now.
Yeah,
that might be a different question. But at least as written policy, they're not changing anything about Evo other than maybe getting rid of some of the like sex pests and stuff out of management. Which
is probably a good move.
Yeah.
Solid idea.
Let's get all the sex pests out of management.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
And our government would be nice too. But then who'd be left?
I mean,
that
was management. That was a joke. Jesus, James. Been very much enjoying, so getting more local at the moment. Andrew Lanning, who has been I mean, he's insulted me before on the internet because he's a piece of shit that just spends his life trolling the internet. So it's finally been called out on it. And he's stepped down temporarily to go to empathy training. What's Andrew, like in his 50s, 60s?
Yeah.
But
now he's out for good now. Once he's not going, he's not going to run again.
When did he say that?
Just today, I think.
I don't believe him. I don't believe him for a fucking second. That piece of shit. He'll just be back and like, oh, you know who sucks? Single mothers and educators.
No, but apparently he's after the end of his current term, he's gone. He's quitting politics.
Yeah, he's got a plum job at Sky News, I guess.
Yeah, probably. He's probably lining up that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I can get paid officially to troll all day long. Okay, I think that's all our Blizzard stuff for now.
I like how Blizzard stuff just turned into political trolling and Sky News.
That's all Blizzard is these days. They are not the company they once were.
No.
I
try to remember there's a difference between Activision Blizzard and Activision Entertainment. Like they're kind of different things.
Oh, you're just trying to remember the old days of Activision?
Yeah, no, the old days of Blizzard. Like there was still like a separate entity of Blizzard to Blizzard Activision.
Oh, what there is? I thought it was all the one thing these days.
No, I'm pretty sure that Activision Blizzard's like the parent company. It's like the name, but there's still like it's still like a separate entity underneath it.
Yeah.
So it's not like
It's still
Activision
all
Blizzard is
split
still
up.
a different company.
Doesn't really change.
I mean, there are
anything.
different companies underneath Activision Blizzard, but they're all managed by the same douchebags.
Oh, yeah. Still the same douchebags at the top. But
take away vicarious visions and make them a subsidiary of Blizzard.
They are doing it.
They could be making a sequel to Over the Hedge DS.
Oh, what a loss for this world.
Anyway, there was also a Square event, which I don't have much to report on because I kind of forgot most of it. Most of it was just updates on existing projects we knew about. But there was a big announcement, kind of. We finally got a name for Project Athia, which is Forspoken, which is definitely a word.
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah. So it seems that big Square, magic-y open world adventure of some sort, but you seem to be not of that world. You seem to be of our world potentially. A lady.
Movement looked cool.
Yeah, lots of magic parkour. Parkour. Man, Lisa was watching the 5-Year Engagement yesterday. You seen that movie?
No.
So at one point, Jason Segel. I keep calling him Seagull because that just makes me laugh. I always just think of a seagull. And he's trying to fight this man who's kissed his wife, played by, and I always forget his name because I just call him Danny Deckchair. Something Ease or anyway. But he's much fitter than he is or anything. It just sort of like stops him. It's like, if you respect me, you'll run away now. He goes, okay. So he just starts running away, but he just randomly starts parkouring like over boxes, and it's very funny. Parkour is, without context, one of the funniest things in the world to see. So that's Forspoken, which is a weird word, but it's okay. I'm okay with it. Yeah, so a woman with modern sneakers, with a cloak, running around open worlds,
magic
doing
stuff.
some dashing and shit. Yeah, could be cool. There's a dragon. Yeah, we'll find out more about that. If you're looking forward to Gotham Knights this year, go fuck yourself.
How many people were?
I was just thinking, like, how much do I swear on this show these days? It's been delayed till next year. I was interested in seeing it. I wasn't like...
I'm interested as well, but I'm not upset that it's been...
No, I'm mostly interested in Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. Also not because I think it'll be amazing. I'm just interested to see what the hell it is. Did we watch the Suicide Squad trailer?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, they solved all the problems by making it fun.
They just turned it into Mystery Man. It's good.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I remember when they were first showing stuff, it's like, what's that guy covered in polka dots? It's like, he's Polka Dot Man.
It's great.
And what are his powers? Polka dots? Because Taika Waititi plays someone, I couldn't remember who, and there's the giant shark. I think, and they're like, oh, does he? Like, and the wife was like, oh, does he play the giant shark? So I look it up. It's like, oh no, that's Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, the giant shark Taika Waititi would be the matchup, but no.
Oh yeah. So if you, like most other people, saw the original Suicide Squad and thought this is shit that we never need to do again, go look at the new one, because they just are forgetting the first one existed. Other than like 3 people are still the same cast.
It doesn't have a 2 at the end, does it?
No, it's just called The Suicide Squad.
So it's sort of like a kind of a reboot.
Yeah. It's best for everyone to just forget that the other one happened.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, should we take a sidebar to the Zack Snyder's
the
Justice League?
Yet.
Oh, you are in for a treat.
I have to find the time.
It's 4x3 for a very bad reason. Yeah.
Because I liked watching it with you guys, because when I think it was Nick who pointed it out, that the vignetting had been cut in the 4x3. So it's like they vignetted the image in like a 16x10 or 9, whatever it was. But so you can still see like the corners of the vignetting where like they sliced it.
Oh no!
I mean that's the manner of how things are filmed, because most film does fill a 4x3, because most cells are 4x3, and then it's either anamorphic, so it's pushed into that, or we literally do cut off the bottoms and we go up and down. So it is technically how it was filmed, but they're like, oh, this is for IMAX. It wasn't shot for IMAX though, so that's just a complete bullshit thing. Yeah, that movie sure is long and sure is basically the same movie. It's
a better version of the movie. Like
I guess, but that's the better version of a shitty movie.
The bar was low.
Yeah, it's got so many scenes that do literally nothing, and like you could probably cut it down to maybe like a 2.5 hour, maybe, and be like somewhat competent of a bad movie. But yeah, oh look, there's so much more Cyborg. He's the heart of the film. I'm like, is he? Because this character is boring as shit. But then all of them kind of are. And yeah, the Flash rescues a hot dog. And
it says a lot about a movie when that's the thing you can remember.
Oh, it's an important scene.
Yeah.
It might be one of the biggest scenes.
One of the key moments.
The key moment is the hot dog rescue. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is better. Like, if I were to objectively judge both, like, especially when it comes to consistency of tone, because boy howdy, that first one is just nothing. This has a little bit more, and the ending actually has everyone actually do something instead of just Superman turning up and beating the shit out of the bad guy and like, what are we doing for dinner? It's still basically that, but there's a little bit more going on. Yeah, it's okay, but it's still like, what? And at the end, they tack on an epilogue. It's not, they don't do the Marvel thing and have like post-credit sequence. It's like, oh no, now we need to have the epilogue where we put in a bunch of scenes kind of setting up things that will never be played out, because, and this is mostly new stuff that was filmed after they announced it, so like, we know we're never getting a sequel. Most people don't want to do it again. This isn't happening. Oh, by the way, we're going to lay all this groundwork for this.
But do you think he's like, there's a secret hope?
No, I don't.
It's like, maybe if I do it, they'll turn around and be like, oh yeah, you can make another one.
I don't think so. Most people,
it'll just become a classic. It'll be like the new Lord of the Rings.
It is it is a notable thing that happened in cinema for a film to be remade from the original footage 2 years after it came out by the original director. Yeah,
It's a unique event.
Yeah, they weirdly, one of the like Easter eggy things that gets put in a lot is they keep referring to suicide prevention organization because it's obviously a cause. Because if you know, Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide, which was the that pulled him off the film in the first place. So it's like he's actually no, because I thought that was good. It's like good. It's like, oh yeah, you know, you want more awareness and you want people to talk about it, so you put it out there. But it was like because I think at the end he dedicated it to his daughter. Like, oh, you should have made it. Not this is just feels weird. This weird superhero thing. I'm like, just do the suicide prevention stuff. That's good. But yeah, it's a weird film. It's a weird cultural artifact, and I'm very happy I watched it. Interesting. Anyway, that was Gotham Knights delayed. Next up, new Life is Strange game announced.
I still haven't played
True
the
Colors.
sequel.
I haven't finished the sequel. I should go back to it. This one is not by Don't Nod.
Oh, who's making it?
Someone else.
Okay.
Not
It's
Don't Nod.
also not episodic.
I'm okay with that.
So they're done with the whole thing at once,
Yeah.
but also I think the structure is a bit different because of it.
Because the whole episodic thing, I kind of gave up treating episodic anyway. Like, with the reason I haven't played Chapter 2 or whatever, the sequel, is because I sort of, well, I'll wait for it to all come out. And I never would have actually played it episode by episode. I feel like that's a bit of a failed experiment from about 10 years ago.
I do like episodic, but I just, like, it has to hit me at exactly the right time. Or I'm like, I'll forget by the next one, and you need to be relatively consistent with releasing. And also, I think sometimes it just only works if it's very good. So the second one was a lot slower of a burn to get going. Like, I had like a more impactful beginning, I guess, but getting into the whole, like, because I'm still only up to episode 3 in it, I think. The integration of the theme and mechanic in the first Life is Strange is one of the best I've ever had in gaming. It's just like, it's genius and like, it's mechanically sound, but it also relates exactly to the theme of it's that time reversing. It's like, oh, I wish I'd made a different choice and everything that you get in adventure games, and it gives it to you and lets you play around with that idea. It's really, really clever. And as they're like, oh, each one's going to have a different power. I'm like, yeah, but what are the chances of you finding another one that works like that? And the second one didn't. This one might. This one's about basically empathy powers.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like she can sense other people's emotions, and if they're strong enough, she starts to feel them herself.
Yeah. So they can sort of start taking her over and becoming quite, start having some sort of physical impact in the environment around her. So, yeah, we'll see.
That's interesting. Yeah,
it could work out. Well, I mean, hopefully it's a good story at least. And, yeah. Fun GTA news. There was a modder who made a thread. I don't know if it started on Reddit, but at least I saw it on Reddit. It was, hey, I can cut GTA Online load times in like half. And then Rockstar saw it and said, oh yeah, that does work. They integrated and paid him $10K.
because this was through their bug bounty
They paid
program,
him
wasn't it?
through the bounty.
So it wasn't
And
technically
then
a bug.
they stated that, like, this is against, like, this isn't the norm,
Yeah.
but we
If
probably
you make cool
should.
mods, we're not going to pay you, but this is
And I
pretty
think
damn
it's the
good.
fact that, like, he didn't, like, mod it or anything.
No.
He just literally, he told them how to do it.
Yeah.
He's like, here's the problem, here's how you fix it. It would take one of your intern programmers a day to do. Have fun.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what it is.
It was, I looked into it. So what it was doing, and this is going to be highly technical. Well, not highly, but more technical than Paul likes.
Good.
Apparently it was like reading data from a massive, like an 8 meg JSON, but instead of like reading it and then just passing it, it was reading it for every single call.
sounds like
And going through the entire data
So it
set
was like it was repassing it
to
each
find the one thing it needed every
Each
single
time.
time.
Okay, yeah.
And it was just like, just read it once and then
Yeah.
use like
Okay,
a linked
yeah.
list or something.
You might work this out even from me asking the question, but you know what goes in my head every time I have to see or interact with a JSON file?
Jason.
Yeah, exactly.
Jason.
I'm exactly the same. I never even played Heavy Rain, and I still do it.
It is very I should have put this at the top. Because there was another banning. Super Seducer 3
Oh,
Yes.
has been banned on Steam.
Thank God, it only took them 3 of them.
What was this one? It was because of it had real people.
Yeah. real people in it.
Sexualizing
like
real
actually
people,
sexualized
which I
real
didn't
people.
realize was a thing on Steam because there's all the porn games, and then I realized,
But
oh
they're
yeah,
not real.
yeah, that's all.
Which has always
digital
been the
people.
argument too for like adult themed games. It's like, well, if it's just a game, then it's fine, right? And now Valve seems to have been like, yes, that is exactly how
This
we
is where
think.
we have drawn the line.
This is the line.
Yeah,
no
like
actual porn, thank you.
Yes, yeah. Because, I mean, it just puts an onus on them to, well, they don't want to be accidentally distributing
guess
child
if
pornography.
if you
or
look at
anything.
what has happened to Pornhub in the last 3 months or so.
Look,
It's
as much
that.
as a
They're
porn
trying to
aficionado
avoid
as I
that.
am, I actually don't know what you're
Haven't-
talking about.
It's
No.
been all over the internet.
I
They've
guess
deleted,
I don't.
They've deleted 95% of the videos on there.
No.
Every single video that wasn't a verified user has been removed. Because
Okay.
they said, well, there's some exploitation stuff going on, and instead of finding it or putting in things to...
And
figure it
also,
out, we'll just
Pornhub
delete
is
all of
a
the content.
business based almost 100% on
I
just
think
stealing
what
other
happened
people's
is-
content.
It came out, and then Visa and MasterCard got on their ass. So they
Ah,
just went,
yeah.
okay, it's deleted, it's all good, everything's verified.
There's a short
Got
John
them.
Ronson documentary basically about the rise of Pornhub and then its effect on everything. It's called the butterfly effect. About just how it's like, yeah, look, we're just data people. We don't even care about pornography. But we just found out if we just steal everyone's content and redistribute it, we get all the money.
Every now and
And
then,
eventually the people whose content you're stealing come to your platform.
Exactly, yeah.
every now and then they do one of those fascinating data dives. Where they look at, like,
Oh,
by
those are
country,
interesting.
like,
Yeah.
who searches for what and what's
What's
popular
the
where.
popular things right
times
now?
that people
There's
use
some
it.
interesting data.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing. That is what their business. They are a data company that just happen to be in porn. They don't really care. It's like so when they do those dumps, that's them showing they're like, this is what we're actually.
This is our job. This is
like
what we wanna
listening to
do.
them talk about A/B testing, about thumbnails and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and like, oh, we really get it down to an art. Like they're kind of integral in the whole like classification of categories. That like what people want to set, and it's created categories, and it's forced pornography to be made in certain ways to match algorithms.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's
It's
knock-on
what's
effect is
happening
quite
on
interesting.
YouTube, but for porn. And I think
yeah,
like you got to look at it like it's one of the big 3 industries, right? That drives tech.
Yeah.
Oh, pornography.
Yeah, like the adult industry is one
Yeah.
of the big 3.
pornography,
Like
hot
it's-
chips, and
and war.
war. Yeah, in that order.
So like you can guarantee that all the research they're doing, all the data they're pulling, like that's flowing across
Data
to
they're
everything
pulling.
else. Yeah.
Oh, you. I did say that it was a sex episode, so that's fine. All of our episodes.
That's why I figured it was okay
We got that
to mention
explicit,
it.
explicit tag.
Yeah.
Mark it on YouTube.
Kind
This is
of
not
on
for
that.
children.
Yeah, that John Ronson doco is kind of. It's like it's this mini series you did on Audible. I think it's free. It's like 6 episodes. It's interesting because it goes into all that stuff and just its effect on all sorts of things. Yeah.
Because I did go looking for like down the look for ethical pornography. It's a thing, ethical pornography, and it's out there. Like there are sites and services. Unfortunately, it's not free, and this is the big problem they've got. So you can find it, and it's all very good, and like it's you know that everyone involved has been compensated properly, and everyone's looked after.
Have you considered it's not free because it's ethical?
Yes, and this is the problem that the ethical porn industry has.
I'll make you some ethical pornography. That's offer to all of you.
General.
That was an open offer.
So I guess
bits at,
so what I found funny about
8.5bit.com.
Super Seducer 3. So we got the first game. Now, if you're not aware, these are terrible games. They're just FMV to pick up artists, like teaching you how to play the game with women. It's
And by the game, they kind of mean like
the game in inverted commas.
yeah.
Now, the first one is a little bit, you can get a little bit Tommy Wiseau-ish with it. It's so terrible and so cringy, and this guy's such a fucking asshole that it's a bit funny. I still don't say spend money on it, but you're like, hey, like this is just a weird thing. And then, after everyone made fun of it and he threatened to fight people on the internet and stuff like that, he went, well, wait. What if I were to say it were on purpose? And I'm a funny person. So at this point...
It's just a joke, bro.
Yeah. He's totally just the embodiment of lol, it's just a joke, bro. So now, everyone that I've seen comment, like, angry about this ban on thread is just 100% convinced that it's just a comedy series and people are trying to stamp on comedy and all this stuff. It's like, no, they don't want to distribute soft pornography. It's a games company, and he'd been warned multiple times and refused to implement the changes that Steam required.
Well, that's the big kicker, I guess, really.
Yeah, it's like you were in a deal with someone and you didn't do what was required for the deal, so they cancelled it. That's just how contracts work.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that guy, he sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm burning my bridges of getting another key, but
Oh, no.
I feel I'm safe.
Because I think I've got a key for the first
you've
one.
You've got two.
And I got two, but I played one.
Yeah, because we played one together.
Yeah. I never installed two.
Yeah, because he just sent blind a key. I'm like, look, I don't really want this. Does anyone want Super Seducer 2?
Because that was the one where it was from the woman's perspective, was it?
I don't know.
I think, I never installed it.
It's hard to play the game when you're...
Yeah, when you're the one that's being abused.
Yeah.
Pick the negging that you want.
This guy said I was not too ugly for this place. Okay. We have strong rumors on a new Switch coming out, and they're from pretty reliable sources, so I'm gonna accept they're most likely true. Which is a new Switch is going to have a new OLED screen. It's a little bit bigger, 7 inches, I think, fully. Well, the current one is like 6.4
it's a tiny,
something.
It's less bevel than probably what we
Yeah, so
have.
it's the same form factor. It'll be less bevel around it. And that better processor, better like everything better on that. But that's also potentially just like this is just hardware being revised because this shit stops being made and you've got to change it at a certain point.
Well, the chip it's using isn't in production anymore.
Yeah. The weird thing that is coming out of it is potentially that it supports what is it? DLSS?
DLSS, which did a little bit of I think I watched some Digital Foundry kind of look at the tech. It is, you know how like in Super Troopers where they're like enhance, and it's all a funny joke.
Yeah.
No, this is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And like watching because it had like just demonstrating the tech with Control. And like rendering it like native 4K versus like 1080, like then upscaling using this AI tech, and it's like it's phenomenal. Like it's
very good.
It's just
DLSS is. I was playing Final Fantasy 15 on PC with it, and it's incredible.
It's the kind of thing which actually gets you to
deep
4K.
learning super sampling.
Yes,
is that it?
Yeah, it's the kind of thing which actually doubles your frame rate. But like with no like
imperceptible graphical
and like because it's the
AI based upscaling.
Yeah, because the latest one is like this is version 2 is the one they have now, and like it used to be with like with the last version, like when they saw these comparisons. It's like say you had hair, like fine details, things would be lost a bit, or if there was like something in the background which had fine detail, it'd be kind of like lost as the AI tried to figure it out. But now it's like they're just like in some cases it actually looked better. Rendering because like
native because I the first time I think
crazy.
I saw it was Death Stranding and like this is very very nice, but on a console like if it is true because it is Nintendo are not known for being cutting edge in technology, but if they were to invest in being cutting edge on anything with everyone going like we want a 4K console and everything like that, having that in there lets them have that on the console screen and still like be making things for the old console and it will kind of hopefully just work out fine. It'd just be cool too. I'd really like to see it.
It's really cool tech.
Yeah, and the console, the screen on the actual device is still only 720, so they're obviously not needing it for that.
Portables, all good.
Yeah, portables, yay!
That docked mode.
The theory is that was coming out this year, and it was going to be more expensive than the current Switch, at $400 US, which I mean I'm cool with. I'll be interested to see. It's a weird one because Nintendo have a history of releasing better models of their consoles that almost never get exploited properly, which is why
like
the
new
DLSS
3DS,
is like that makes me potentially happy because that's something that can be used and be effective and doesn't really need necessarily here because everything's different, but it could just be a benefit across the board that can affect things than you just having two games that use it on new 3DS.
And it could even at a lower, like when you are playing a game even on the smaller screen when it's not running at a native 720,
which a lot of games don't.
Yeah, they're running at 540 or something like that. Then that's where the DLSS
could jump in.
Could actually jump in handheld mode.
Yeah. Yes, hopefully. Or I mentioned Sony and that. And then, we got some details on the new PlayStation VR.
Yeah.
So they had one blog where they say, "Hey, we're making it." I'm like, we knew that. A few things that we could infer from that, but then the next week they showed off the new controllers, and partly they showed it off because they're sending them out as dev units, and once they're out in the wild, they were going to get posted anyway. So let's just be ahead of the curve. Similar to sort of the modern style of your Oculus controllers and stuff. It's basically the exact same like grippy form factor, but it's got like a little globe around it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be inside-out
nice
tracking.
World design going on.
Yeah, it looks pretty nice, I thought.
Yeah,
neat.
and importantly, got the
haptic triggers,
Yep.
which should be hopefully very good. And then some basic finger tracking in it. Not full finger tracking, just like positional on 3 fingers.
Yeah.
But that's all. I still think the dream of like...
Full hand tracking is still a little bit away.
Yeah, well, the problem I have with hand tracking, which works on the Quest and is okay, I just haven't found a practical implementation for it that's useful. Like, I don't want to pick up an object with my full hand actually having to try and map it because I don't have the real object.
Yeah, we need tactics.
Yeah.
You need some
We need
haptics
feedback.
in there.
Haptics,
Yeah.
If you could do both those things, I'd be all for it. But until then, I'm holding object, I'm not holding object, just a binary state. That's more intuitive to me.
When we got our resistance gloves, then
They're working on it. There's a few companies working on them.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. The science behind it's cool too because they run on the premise. I can't remember the word for it, but like the premise of how close you can like poke 2 separate parts of your skin before it feels like a single touch.
Oh,
so
okay.
all you need is a haptic those distances apart, and they can basically counteract like a lot of. They don't have to touch like exactly where it would be. It just has to be in the general area because your brain just goes, yeah, close enough.
Fair enough.
And does all the rest. It's cool.
And if we all get nerve damage, it can be even more vague. I'm always thinking outside the box. Okay. Artifact. The future of Artifact is now, and that is it's cancelled.
Oh wait, this is the card game.
The Valve-made card game, and so it is.
They released it though. It went like
they didn't just release
all
it.
cards
so
for
it's,
everyone.
It's cancelled, and it's released 2 times. I've forgotten now what the 2 versions are called. I think one of them's Classic and one of them's like Foundry Edition or something. So they released the original game for free. All the cards are available for free. And they released the new updated version they were working on, which is mostly functional but missing a few little things here and there. That's also free. So you can play either version of the game with different rule sets and what they were doing. If you had bought cards in the game, those are still tradable. So if you're into the marketplace, but otherwise everything, and they look different. They're like foil cards.
Okay, yeah.
But everyone else just has all the cards.
Yeah.
And there's no way of buying them anymore other than trading them.
So they're now just collector things.
Yeah. So if you want to play Artifact, you can, but they're never fixing or changing anything. I think they also put the source out.
Oh, really? Because I didn't even give it a go. I think I tried to watch a match once, and it was fucking horrible. And then never bothered installing it.
Yeah,
that's about as far as I got.
I think the most telling thing when I heard other people talking about this issue was lots of people that were into card games and really liked Artifact, and then the host said, "And how many of you actually tried the new version?" And not a single one had loaded it up because it was just gone by that point, and they're right to cancel it because it was stopping people from working on Valley of the Gods, which is definitely coming out one day.
Yeah, I think the original creator jumped ship on that game pretty early. I think like it came
the Magic guy.
Yeah. I think like it came out and he noped out pretty quickly.
I think he was just. I think he was just contracted up to a certain point. He's like, no, I've done my part. I've designed the game. I'm doing other things now. I'm the Magic guy, and he got on his carpet and he flew away.
Carpet made of Magic cards.
Exactly.
Just one whole beta print of Black Lotuses.
Vaguely on Valve, the Dota animated show is now on Netflix.
As in it's released?
Yeah, it's out.
Oh, I've not seen anyone. Should I watch it?
I haven't watched it. I've just seen. I saw
it also is out is the Pacific Rim anime.
Oh, I saw that. Is that any good?
It's interesting.
Okay.
It's set in Australia. And it's clearly made and voiced by no one who's Australian.
Is it as good as Pacific Rim or as good as Pacific Rim 2?
It's really nice animation. Like they've done a super good job of taking like the kaiju look and pulling it into like an anime type style.
Yeah, but I was asking, was it a fun movie or a terrible movie?
I liked both of those movies.
Oh, well, that doesn't
for
help
very
me.
different reasons. It's closer to 2 if you like. It is There is
Well-
a solid storyline in there somewhere, but it's mostly about watching the big
I forgot.
fucking
Is
fights.
Charlie Day in too?
I think he shows up, yeah.
Okay, that's all that matters.
I think he's...
He's all right.
Yeah, no, he is, because he's like one of the antagonists, effectively.
Oh, did he get
Because
like
of his
taken
brain
over?
merge and stuff.
Yeah, I don't really remember 2. I mean, I barely remember 1. It was fun. but
2 just
really
went
lovely.
full Gundam.
Yeah. Too much. You can have too much Gundam. Okay. In the most exciting news for Paul of the last 3 weeks, they announced a new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game,
Hell yeah.
and I went, "Oh, trailer! Oh,
Skip.
skip gameplay. Oh yeah, that looks cool." Unfortunately, what I skipped was a re-recording of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme song by Mike Patton, which is so weird and cool. Yeah, so they got Mike on for some reason to just sing a slightly rocky, like a slightly metal-inspired version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is fun, and I get to play it on the radio now, which makes me very happy.
Perfect.
Yeah, I just kicked off that week. I just kicked off the episode, the show with just sort of like, here we go, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh fuck yeah, it's so good. Anyway, yeah, so the actual game, it's Turtles and Tiles style beat 'em up. Very much going to the old pixel style. If you get a foot trooper and you throw them, sometimes they'll go straight at the screen and you go, it's coming right at me. It's made by the team that sort of made the Scott Pilgrim game. They made a few other things, being published by .mu. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It looks solid. I do always wonder how to make a beat 'em up good in this day, because beat 'em ups were king for arcades. They were for short
quarter
terms.
eaters.
Yeah, quarter eaters that didn't take very long to beat, were very repetitive, and mostly people liked because they were gorgeous because they had big sprite art. But honestly, games are very gorgeous these days, so
I'm glad that they kept the all pixel aesthetic.
yeah. I mean, they could have. I don't mind them trying other things, but I like that it's good. It's nothing too too generic or anything they've gone for. But yeah, I thought it was fun. Okay. We only got 2 things before we hit the stories, and we're going to go and talk about games before we do that. Very quick, I think it's out now, the next-gen versions of Tony Hawk. So if you want to play it on your PS5 or Xbox One...
This is for the...
Pro Skater 1 and 2.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. So if you're on PS5, you just put it in or open it up, and it will give you the PS5 version. If you own it for Xbox, if you bought it physically... I've said this a few times today. Go fuck yourself. So there's no upgrade path for a physical version of the
That's a
Xbox
shame.
One.
I thought Microsoft was pretty good with their upgrading.
Yeah, it's all this stuff gets messy. So you got to
Yeah.
entirely buy the new game to get the Xbox Series X. Except I believe if you bought it digitally, you can.
Because that was the
upgrade.
idea behind their what
Smart
they call it?
delivery.
Smart delivery. Yeah.
Yeah, which has been pretty good. Much better than Sony.
Everyone was like, wow, what a buzzword. It's like, oh, it's actually like a really good setup
Yeah.
Oh
way
yeah,
to do
well,
things.
when it came out, we were like, "Why would you need to advertise this?" Of course,
It's just how it works,
It would work
surely.
like that. And then, like the other day, I ran out of space on my PS5, and I went, "Oh, what have I got on here?" I'm like, "Okay, well, I've got Control, and I've got Control again for PS4. Why do I have 2 versions of Control on here? I only hit the download button once. What's going on?" But thanks for that. My last bit of regular news today. Katana Zero. Katana. What am I doing? Katana Zero is the deal. So that game is awesome, but it's a bit short. And at the end, it's basically like, and stay tuned for more. And then work on the DLC. You'll see since. And it's now about half the size of the original game. So it's still going to be free. It's going to come out at some point. But it made me happy because that game was really good. I really like that. Good storytelling in it. And nice side-scrolling sort of... What's the game we always are liking it to?
Messenger? No,
not Messenger-ish. Top-down, brutal... Hotline Miami.
Hotline Miami.
Sort of
Yeah.
Hotline Miami speed, sort of take out rooms and everything. But side-scrolling with a sword and time manipulation. Anyway, cool. Let's talk about some games we've been playing. James and I played a game yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
What was it?
I didn't put it in the intro, but fuck the intro.
Yeah, who cares? That's ages ago now.
We played It Takes Two.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Did it take 2?
It did. I don't think it's playable without 2.
Yeah.
You have to have 2 people. We played it online on the PS5. And it is, thankfully, and I suppose at one point badly, exactly what I thought it would be. Which is, so it's a story about a couple who are having troubles, and they get turned into dolls, and then they have to have 3D adventures. And those 3D adventures are sort of 3D platforming levels where you have to help each other the whole time, and each level has a gimmick. And those gimmicks are creative and fun and very brisk and has a good pace and moves on. And also has terrible, terrible, terrible writing and story, which is just a drag. But gets out of the way, and the game's really whimsical and fun. I don't care about that.
I like the talking book.
Do you? I hate the talking book. He's, hey, I'm a book. Look at me, I'm talking. I guess I'm maybe French. Who knows?
I like how over the top.
It's the book of love. Yeah, he's got.
Like, it's I think the pacing is good
So far, yeah.
but the difficulty spikes are weird because
I didn't even think you could die for a while, and then we suddenly died like
just
5 times in a row.
the game is not too hard. If anything, most of it, like outside of bosses, was kind of easy, but not like boringly easy. It's like, you figure it out, and like
You just know what you're doing.
a lot of the time we weren't even really like, we were just doing it. Like we didn't have to say too much about, like, talk out the solution. We both just see the solution and do it.
Or you might call out, it's like, oh, I've got one of them over here, because
Yeah.
the other person, because the second level we have each a separate ability, which one person can manipulate one sort of thing and the other the other. So
which is cool. And you get to the bosses, and especially the second boss we fought. How many times did we die?
Probably like 5.
5 or 6, yeah. And like, it was a good boss fight. I actually really enjoyed it.
Really creative. I really liked it a lot.
I really loved the boss. It's just the difficulty difference. It's just
spiked.
It's just odd. Like, it's
Like I feel like kids would be happy with most of it, and then I feel like kids would hit that second boss and go like, what?
yeah. It does. It feels like you're playing a kid's game, and then you get to the boss, and suddenly it's like, not like
It wasn't
Dark
super hard,
Souls,
but
it's not like ridiculously hard, but it's still like, it
Not
killed
in
us.
line with the rest of it, then.
Yeah, like I was one of the attacks the boss did. I would do an audio cue, and I'd use that audio cue to duck it out of the way. And then I realized he doesn't always do the same audio cue. I'm like, okay, it doesn't really matter. It's still easy enough to read, but that is just complicating it for a kid or something. That like they're looking for the cheat sheet of how to get through. It's like, stand here until you hear this, then do this. And like, but anyway, no. I suppose. Yeah, so at the moment, because you're really small, so we've just been in the barn for the first 2 levels. Because our daughter has cursed us. Because we're
with her tears.
With her sad... The tears of a child have cursed the parents into her childish dolls because she doesn't want them to get divorced. But I feel somehow these trials we're going to go through, James, will bring us together and remind us why we were in love in the first place.
It doesn't. I know
I really hope it doesn't.
I know it will.
Just some realism, please.
Yeah.
Oh, it would be
I know 100% they'll end up together, but I wish they didn't.
Oh, what if he just like ended up... It's like... I get on better with your best
What
friend.
if you get
She
to
just
the
gives
very
her the
end,
buzzing.
and then the deciding factor is a game of tic-tac-toe? Or Connect 4?
No,
or
spoiler-
horseshoes?
No, he's
It has the same ending as the way out.
Here's the end, right?
Yeah.
They finish up, right? They finish thing, then they decide to get the divorce, and then it ends with you playing the girl in like the courtroom. And she's got to pick the doll that she wants for the one to live with.
Who do you live with?
Yeah.
Nice.
Which parent do you love the most? Huh?
Or they have to fist fight for her.
Or both.
Or you can choose to walk away from the child.
The parents just leave.
We're done with this shit. You turned us into a doll.
No, we're divorcing you also. Yeah, really cool. I want to play more of it.
Yeah, I really like the two kind of like levels we played, that they just how different the mechanics were. Like,
yeah,
it's like if they can keep up that variety as we play through, and every level's got a new thing, that'd be fun.
So I'm going to tie this in a few minutes because I don't know how much more we'll need to talk about this at the moment because we've only played a few levels. I'll tie it into Balan Wonderworld and so,
which I haven't played that much of because
you don't need to.
We'll
We'll
get to reasons.
Yeah. So early on, James has gone to the corner of this area and there's a tin on the ground, and he goes to butt stomp it, which is one of our few just generic moves we have, and surprising to us all, when he goes to jump, because a lot of things in this world are animated, which normally wouldn't be. So he goes to squash it, and it dodges out of the way, goes above him, and squashes him. Why? Because it's funny.
It's a random object.
I was like, oh, that tin was sentient.
Just that one specific.
Yeah, it's really good. And then at one point, it does another thing that A Way Out did, the director's previous game, where it says, oh, now it's time for a player versus player challenge for no particular reason, just for fun. And one of you will win.
I won.
Yeah, James won. Yeah, little bastard. I did immediately. I go like, "Oh, let's go again." I'm like, "Wait, why do I want to go again?" Oh, just because I want to win. That's the only reason. I'm trying
Genius.
It's like, you got me. So yeah, just like pointless mini games
Just win the
inside
next
the game
one.
of mini. Well, that'll be my plan. Yeah, it'll always be my plan. Unfortunately, sometimes it won't work. But yeah, it's tight. It's very attractive.
Only one person needs to buy it.
Oh, yeah, so
That's always
I
good.
bought it, and then James just downloads a trial version, and he can join up with my game. And you also, if you were just interested in it, you can download the trial, and you can still play the first level. So then it's just like, hey, one person playing this needs to buy it. So you can play it locally co-op, or you can play it online, and it's exactly the same.
Yeah,
It's still split screen.
Yeah, interestingly, you're still split screen even when you're playing remotely.
So you can
Which is-
always see what the other person's up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it works for that because you could point out to someone, oh no, it's behind you, because you can see what the other person's seeing. But also, much like a Way Out, they're definitely going to do some things with the split screen at certain points.
Well, they even had some points where like it was most of the time it's vertical, and then one time it swapped to being horizontal.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, they did swap it at one point.
Yeah, it can be quite dynamic, which is sort of the technology base they've
Yeah.
built up, which is why I was very excited for this, even though I think he's the worst writer in
The
games.
tech's really cool. For like
Yeah.
that whole concept.
Yeah, and it plays really well, and that's all that really matters. I mean, it wasn't the tightest 3D platform I've ever played, but it's it's better than average, and just play stuff with other people is always more fun. And yeah, it really, really delivers. So yeah, and it wasn't super expensive. It was $60. So between two people, if you want to split it, that's pretty good. Okay, I said we're going to talk about Balan Wonderworld now. Time for it.
Time for the rest of the show.
Balan Wonderworld. Have we all touched the demo?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
So
'cause-
I've played the first level,
Yes.
and I got about halfway through, I think, the second level, until the bombs kicked in, and I got frustrated at its health system, and I quit.
So Balan Wonderworld is a 3D platformer from what's the director's name? I always forget. He's one of the main Sega dudes. Like he was on Sonic. He was lead on like Choo Choo Rocket and Nights into Dreams, and he has been on everything. And this has been his project, and it has some of the staff that made Blinks the Time Sweeper. Just a little fact I learnt last week. And it's quite similar to Nights in that you're kind of these kids that have gone into a dream world. But instead of turning into knights, which in this case would be Balan, this weird top-hatted thing, or is it just a top hat?
I don't know.
It seems to be a sentient top hat, perhaps. Those kids then go around these worlds and can collect costumes, and each of those costumes have abilities tied to them that let you fight things. Or
And there's some
navigate
fun
in the forest.
abilities.
There's some fun abilities.
Like there's one where like your head extends up, and then you can release a button, and the body catches up.
Yeah, that's a fun one. So, this game's terrible in many interesting ways. Choices I don't understand.
Can we start with the rendering?
No, I want to start. I just
All right.
while I remember,
All
I just
right.
want to start with the funny can in that we just played in It Takes Two. So James found this can, and it gave us a surprising interaction. What whimsy and fun! I said. In this game, well, just at the very beginning, it's all through all the levels. There's all these characters around dancing. Yeah, look at this wolf. He's dancing. I wonder if he's dangerous, or maybe I can go up and talk to him, or maybe I could jump on his head. If you approach any of these dancing characters, once you're a few feet away, they disappear.
But then, because otherwise,
The dance is not for you,
You
Paul.
might have to deal with a collision.
Exactly. I like the laziest choice of all time. They could run away, but that would require some sort of
So I have to
Yeah,
sort of
find the path
animation.
system,
And
and-
you'd have to put the path in.
We
or
only
something.
made a dance animation.
Yeah. Or a hiding animation where they just No,
Yeah.
it just fades into nothingness. Why? Because we didn't have the budget. But no, we can talk about the rendering now, James.
So it has this effect where, based off the depth of, because I spent a bit of time looking at it, what it looks like it's doing to me is based off the depth of the vertices on the mesh. After a certain threshold, it will either shift that vertice up or down. So it's like, as things move away from you, it's like all the vertices for all the mesh stay where they are. After some amount, it will start to either curve it up or curve it down.
I think it's even simpler than that.
Now-
I think it's just simply...
No, it's because I was watching it,
Yeah.
and I could see like in like a long like mesh,
Yeah.
like it would like arc down. Like I could see it wasn't actually bending it, I could see he was getting one of the verts and like pushing it down.
Well, I just meant simply that the world's just broken into little chunks, and the distance from the player is they'll move them up or down to make it look like it's curved one way or the other.
I'm pretty certain it's just like a world curve shader that's making it do it.
I think they're physically moving.
Oh no, well, it's a combination. I think there is still some stuff which is still popping up, but just like the way this weird curve thing looks, and I found like the first level, it curved down.
Yeah, it's kind of trying to do like it's a planet or or maybe a Animal Crossing-ish thing where there's a horizon.
And it worked. It was all right. Like it's all right. Like it's a bit weird and janky, but whatever. The second level, everything curves up.
They want to go Inception on us,
which kind of means
Halo.
that like two-thirds of your view is constantly like playing with your sense of like where you are. And I couldn't do it. Like
it's the worst effect I've ever seen in anything.
I understand the down part. I don't like it, but sure, you want to do a curved world thing. The up part, why?
Because it's Wonderland.
It's whimsical.
It's fun.
I also stopped on the second level because it is unbearable.
Well, because I hadn't been hit once in the game.
No, neither had I.
And I collected all these abilities, and you need some of the abilities to do things like like you need a certain ability to smash a rock, and I hadn't taken any damage. I was just wondering, what happens like when I get hit? It takes away your abilities like Mario style. But just random ones. Like, I got hit and suddenly two of my abilities disappeared.
It just doesn't just take away the one that's active.
No, like, I had two abilities just disappear on me.
Maybe you got too close to them.
And it was like, I needed those abilities to, like, break a block.
To do the level.
So,
to, like, go and get them again?
It got to the point where I was like, I had to backtrack to get the ability back. And the world's just moving in weird ways. And I'm like, nah, I'm done. And it's weird minigame. With the shadows that merge.
I guess that worked. It was okay.
But it was like all about the shadows merging. And you had to like, so he's got like image with like a split, and then like it would just sort of come together, and you have to just hit it when the images converge.
The timing when they're lined up.
Which is fine. But then one of them was also like, just mash the button.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't have anything to differentiate what the two modes were. So it's like, it's all like, here's the one where just like tap the button as it's coming in, and then suddenly just mash the button. And then after that,
how many different other kinds of button presses do you want?
You can either time it or mash it. Yeah.
Maybe long hold. So continuing on the wonder of Balan Wonderworld. So it also is very much lined up on like I'm playing the first level. I'm like, well, I'll get everything. Hey, I can't get here. Why can't I? Okay, I don't have that ability. I'm at the end of the level, though. Oh, you have to go get the costume from another level and come back and do the level
but
again
don't get
with
hit,
those costumes.
or you might lose the costume.
Yeah, so you
have to go back to the other level again
to get the costumes back. A lot of busy work. And it looks like, when they started doing like CGI kids cartoons, it looks like that early sort of just terrible, lifeless, dead eye designs, animated a little bit better. But it's so terrible.
I didn't. The actual world design itself, I didn't mind.
It's okay. It doesn't bring my interest to go do anything.
The costumes are fine. Like,
look, the one thing that I love, and if they're going to do it, it's like I really like games that just have like the costumes with a single ability that you have to like. I'll get and I'll manage and I'll. What will I need to do this combination of things?
That was fine.
And like in a Mario world or something where you can like see how this is going to play out or something like. Because one of the problems I think I didn't probably hark on about with Bowser's Fury is a lot of the costumes in Mario are basically kind of the same thing. It's like, look, I can...
get an attack.
Yeah, I just get an attack. And it's like, okay, well, all these things just kind of give me an attack. Catsuit lets you climb things, but everything else is just kind of like, I can throw a boomerang or I can throw a fireball. And while slightly different, effectively the same thing. Well... If you start going like, I can grow as a beanstalk or whatever it was, or I can do my werewolf spin.
All the stuff that like Odyssey gave you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh man, I should replay Odyssey.
It did actually make me think a bit of Odyssey.
Oh yeah, right. There is a game that does this already, and it's really good.
And Hat in Time.
Yeah, Hat in Time. Yeah. Oh, that was a good game.
So if you want to play a fun hat-based 3D adventure, one of those two.
We'll just give them two.
Like,
There's a
just
world
ignore
need-
Balan Wonderworld.
There's a world in another hat, basically.
But two very good ones.
I don't think you have to tell everyone to ignore Balan Wonderworld. It's
We'll let them find out.
not going to make a splash.
Yeah, it's an odd project.
It's
is.
really like I do recommend if you are interested in just like games as design and everything, downloading it and looking because it is. They've made so many odd choices along the way. It's like the way that the maps are laid out, like just the whole structure of the game is both old school and weird.
Another one was respawning keys. This one also confused me. So,
Uh-huh.
so normally, like you have a locked door,
Yep.
and you'll have a key, and you use that to like gate progression through things where you can't get through this until you do some jumping, get the key, and come back. But the keys respawn, so you get a key to unlock the door, and then I could have just picked up another key, and I end up having like multiple keys because like just respawned a few times. I just didn't. Like, I was very confused by the keys. Like,
Find the easiest
Yeah.
key to get
Like,
and just grind it.
this is a way to control flow through a level. Like, why? But I can have as many. Anyway, just weird, just odd.
It's quite the game.
Good choices.
Okay, let's move on. Let's clean up our act and talk about some Subverse.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, hold on.
Okay.
Let me lean back because I haven't played this.
I made
but,
notes.
but I'm real
Oh,
curious.
sorry. Thank you,
couldn't-
Sam.
I couldn't start playing this until about 8 o'clock last night.
Yeah.
And I stopped playing it at about 1 a.m.
Oh, well, that's a
and
good
I
sign.
made notes. Oh boy, it's a game.
Okay, how much of a game is it?
Actually, more than I expected.
How many games is it?
More than I expected.
You were expecting 3 games, weren't you?
Effectively, yeah. So, like, the premise of it is like, it's an adult game first and foremost. Like,
Yes.
It's marketed as an adult game, and the studio that's made it is an animation studio. So the idea would be like, okay, you're expecting some kind of interaction-based stuff. That's for all the people playing with one hand, and then it also has a twin-stick shooter. And
So
a
you're saying
strategy game.
it's good for it's got just good disability options.
Yeah. The whole game can be played just with the mouse.
Oh,
If
that's
you
good.
really want to. Oh wait, no, the twin stick can't.
Oh, okay. Well,
But-
moving on.
As far as the game's concerned,
Yeah.
it's actually it's perfectly competent.
Mm.
Like,
Oh,
Which-
it is
for-
a solid
For a porn game, is high praise.
for a porn game by an animation
Yeah.
studio. Like, it is their first game development.
Because what struck me weird about it was like, how many games it
It's-
seemed like it was.
well,
Like,
yeah, so it's also a visual novel
yeah. So it's a visual novel, twin stick shooter, strategy.
So like XCOM-y type,
Yeah.
very basic. And like all the parts, like none of them are bad.
But do they come together?
I haven't figured that out yet, and I've played it for like 3 or 4
Yeah.
hours. So the first things that came with it, it's very self-aware. A lot of the humor and jokes is about like, yes, we know this is a porn game. We know you're playing this for the porn, probably. And then we're gonna make lots of self-referential jokes to like you start the game. It's like, here's the obligatory tutorial for the twin stick shooter, so that you can get to the bits you want to get to. And like, there's a lot of that kind of sexual humor throughout. The voice acting's kind of terrible, but in a good way. Like, the main character that you're playing is Aussie, but it's clearly like ramped up for Americans, or in that kind of Aussie accent and using all the slang and all that kind of nonsense. But the rest of the voice acting of the characters, and it is fully voiced throughout. It's pretty decent. It looks like they've got like a good spread of people doing stuff. There is a lot of cutscenes.
Well, that's kind of why you're there, right? But like,
But it is an animation studio.
Yeah.
So
Are
like,
they mainly porn cutscenes? So,
no,
Huh.
and almost none of them are.
Oh,
They're all just story cutscenes,
and how is the story?
and most of them are about 10 seconds long. It's very thrown together.
but in like an enjoyable way, or
I
it's
think
trying
so.
too hard.
Yeah, I
way?
think so. It's they're trying to do this thing because it's space based, like this big space RPG. So the main storyline is effectively there's a race of aliens that like run the universe. Basically, they are the big evil empire, and humanity's come out of a wormhole somewhere and been the first race to survive it, and they're the lesser race. They're the Solars, I think they call them. And now, like, there's a small group of rebels trying to fight back against the big bad Imperium, and you're part of that group, and you're kind of pulling together a team of hot ladies.
pulling together.
Yeah, You're trying to go gather all these hot ladies to go do some kind of weird murder heist on the government.
A murder heist.
Yeah. Meanwhile, at the same time, there's AI robots, fuckbots,
But I really want
that occasionally come in and attack, and they're all screaming like bro sentences.
Oh.
It's the fuckbots. FUCC.
I like that.
Yeah, but like as far as the actual gamey parts, like the twin stick, it's all very simplistic. There's twin sticks, the basic twin stick. You've got movement, you've got aim, you've got a primary fire, you've got an alternate missile, and then I think at some point I'm going to unlock an EMP. But otherwise, it's just it's a twin stick shooter.
Or anything like that?
I'm just getting to the point where you're starting to see upgrades. You hit the upgrades for the strategy side first, and I assume that there will be upgrades for twin stick as well down the line. You kind of, after quite a hefty intro, it opens up and you've got like your little ship hub and all the upgradey spots.
How long until the first sex?
Straight after the tutorial.
Okay.
Straight away.
Is the sex interactive?
It is not as interactive as I thought it would be. It is looped animations with a speed control for the most part.
Okay.
But what they've done
Just like real life.
I think what they've done is because the studio, what they've always done in the past is effectively in looped animations. They've created lots of individual looped animations that you can unlock over time, and then they've got this system called Pandora, where you can pick and choose the order you want to put them in and hit play. So you can kind of build your own porn. So there's another game.
Like a porn directory.
What if we remade the movies, but it was...
But a porn, where's the movies a porn expansion?
Come on, Peter Molyneux. Now you got it in you.
But yeah, so like the twin sticks, like it's perfectly serviceable.
Yeah.
Plays nicely. It doesn't feel janky. There was
But
a
it
boss
feels
fight that went
wanky.
on for a bit too long, but wasn't boring. Like changes in phases and stuff felt a little bit bullet hell at times. And then the strategy aspect is super basic, but also, again, just competent. Like it works. What they've done works.
Is this the on-world, like, squad?
It's less on wild. Most of it's on ship. So like if you board an enemy ship or something like that, or planets.
Like team-based, turn-based.
Yeah, little turn-based strategy. So it's, you like Fire Emblem, you just pick a spot on the grid you want to place your characters.
Does anything sexy get into those game modes? Or are they...
Not particularly. Twin stick definitely not. The strategy, the closest you get is if you use an ultimate ability of your main character, it does like this little animation shot, like Borderlands style, kind of comes in from on top of the screen, and there's physics on those animations. A lot of jiggling. But I can see that it is going to get more complex. Like the strategy side, it's not easy. It is just basic. Like you get a move and you get an attack, and then you have like one extra ability for each character and an ultimate for each character that charges when you get hit.
I'm disappointed that the story isn't sexier.
Yeah, it's very strange. It seems to be just based on the premise of like, we'll just hand wave the reason that all of the people you have to recruit are like female, and like, all of them want to have sex with you. Yeah,
it just seems like you can
but they lean into it in the voice lines a bit. But it's like different.
Honey Pop doesn't pretend to be. It's like they don't.
They're not pretending not to be adult. They just there's less of it than I expected from these guys, especially as well. It's strange. I did write down 2 choice quotes from very early on in the game.
Lay it on me.
The first one is when you're being really annoyed about the Imperium, the evil race, and you call them some Dungle Dangle Dingleberry Darrows.
Oh yeah,
which is a solid sentence.
Yeah.
And the one that really shined is this little tiny goblin pirate. He's the first boss you fight, and you've stolen his sex android from him, basically. You've cucked him. I think it's the phrase that gets used. But it's this tiny little goblin pirate, and he's a space pirate, but he's wearing a classic pirate hat.
At first I thought you said parrot.
No, pirate.
Like, goblin parrot. That is something I have not seen before.
He calls you. He says, "You fuckboy bandit." In his tiny little goblin voice, and it's one of the greatest things I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, fuckboy bandit.
Yeah,
something like that.
But yeah, it's in an interesting space because, like, obviously, adult games are either just pure porn and an excuse to get money through making people pay for porn, but via a video game, or they're, you know, very basic, or like Honey Pop's in and it's very unique world.
Yeah.
And I think this is trying to be in that kind of circle of like, it is a decently made game that has adult content, and I think they've kind of hit the mark there. They just need less games. They should have I feel like they should have picked one of the concepts and fleshed it.
Because it actually kind of turned me off a bit. Like when I saw, because originally I was thinking it'd be like a Mass Effect style thing.
When they first tried to fund it, they were selling it as a Mass Effect.
And then deal. It's like, oh, now it's like I can see you've got like the strategy thing and you got this twin stick shooting thing.
There's a lot going on. And
I feel like you could have picked either of those,
because
and you could have done something with it.
They've clearly, like, they've managed to succeed in making all of those things without, like, there's no major bugs or issues that I found so far. And it is early access too, which is an interesting point. Like, nothing breaks. The games feel fleshed out, like, as far as how they work. But I feel like if they took all the effort they put into all of them and shoved it into a single concept, it would actually be really, really good. Even whichever one they picked.
Because I could see, like, you could have a visual novel with a twin stick shooter shmup attached. You could have a visual novel with
because the visual novel is effectively like that's how they do all of the dialogue.
I mean, I guess that's what Honey Pop did. Honey Pop to take a visual novel and put a match 3 on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't think Honey Pop would have been better if it was also a city builder.
No, like, well, I mean, you look at how bad Honeycam was.
That was not
the attempt to pull across, but yeah, it's in an interesting space, and I think it's a good thing to have happened for that space, and I'll probably keep playing it because, like, I'm playing it just to see what it's like. As much as I like sexy alien girl animations, it also turns out that I'm enjoying the games. And yeah, I do. Like I said yesterday, I'm very easily suckered into things. If it's Mon girls or space waifus, it's the two things that'll get me.
Is there any kind
aliens or monsters?
Is there any kind of relationship system with them? Like, do you have to win the affection of the characters?
There is. So, not too involved as far as I can tell, but basically, it looks like as you hire more people, you get to pick and choose what team you do. For you can actually use a different character ship for the twin stick stuff, and they have a different secondary fight. And then I would assume once I unlock more of them in the strategy zone, I'd assume you can pick and choose who you want your main team, like, captain to be. And then you get experience through that, and that experience unlocks the points to unlock the animations for that character. And also, there is a devotion meter that goes up as well. I haven't found out what it actually does yet, but it's how much they love you, I guess. So I'm sure I'll find out what game that opens up at some point. But yeah, there's a lot of systems going on in it, and I think it's probably the one downside that it's got is that there's just too much going on.
Wait, Godzilla vs King Kong's out.
Oh, is it?
Oh yes, let's go watch that terrible movie. Great. Yeah, yay, more sex games. Good. Okay.
And it's $40.
That's too much for me.
Early access, which is maybe a bit too steep.
I think it'll be on a Humble Bundle.
Maybe.
Yeah, when are we getting our
It'll
Humble?
be in one of the itch lewd bundles, maybe.
Yeah, we haven't had a sexy Humble Bundle yet.
There's plenty of them.
No, those are more for Indie Gala.
Itch has a lot of sexy bundles.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's start talking about some of these presentations we had this week. So we had two. We had one, the Future Games Show, which was games that will come out in the future. And then we had...
They really narrowed it down, didn't they?
When
did we ever have like a past game show?
Hey, here's some games you might have missed last year that were really good. Okay, so which one do I want to go to? Oh, that's right. The Spring Showcase. Now, there actually wasn't that much stuff. Because it was mostly stuff we've already seen. They had a few things beforehand. I was very happy to see that one of the games that got in the pre-show was Fling to the Finish. Remember that, James? It's just a two-person platformer in balls. There's a rope between you. You know, we played that and like Fogs at the same time and everything, but we thought this was not as polished but fun as hell. So it's like a racing game. So 4 people play in teams of 2 and you just get through. The thing that's genius about it, so you got cable between you. So obviously, but you can also grip onto the surface that you're on. So if someone falls, the other person can grip on, you can swing up. And you can also, someone can grip and the other person can pull back and they can launch themselves and stuff like that. Lots of really good intuitive stuff. We've spoken about it before, but it's a really cool game. We saw a little bit of gameplay for the first time of Lord of the Rings Gollum, which is still a long way away, I believe. It looks like a cool, slightly stealthy third-person adventure game
With Gollum.
I mean, I don't have much to say about it. Looks like it could be good. We've got to see a lot more before I have any feeling on that. Now, I'm going to skip a lot of stuff because if we're going to do multiple shows and stuff, we don't really need to. Axiom Verge 2 got a good look at. First time I really got to see much of that game.
I didn't really play the first one much.
Oh, it's very good.
Yeah.
I like Axiom Verge a lot. The second one looks very different. It's also based before the first game, but it's not like continuation between the two because it's different characters and such. What I find interesting, they talk a lot about how they're expanding like the lore. I'm like, I don't remember a thing about the lore. I just remember cool gadgety things that broke the game on purpose. That was because of just how good the first one was, I'm pretty much on board. But I didn't really get anything new out of the showing it. It's like, yeah, I understand what platformers look like, and this one has a slightly different art style, and you're not going to have the same glitch mechanics, but you're going to do similar things, so that's good to know. That's about it, really. They had a game called Naraka Blade Point, which was kind of like a multiplayer, almost Tenchu-y, a bit more action-y, obviously. Okay. But unfortunately, it's multiplayer and sort of battle royale. So it's got all this cool ninja mysticism stuff going on.
In a game I'll never play.
Yeah, I'll never play that. I thought that was pretty cool. Look, I can talk about things that were weird. They had Quantum Error. So it's a supposed to be horror-y sci-fi shooter. It looks a lot like Doom or anything, except the enemies are all really, really slow. But you got plenty of ammo. So it just looked like the most boring fucking shooter I've seen.
Bullet sponge the game.
Yeah, I wasn't really scared by anything, but maybe we'll see. It was just a weird trailer.
It's got the word quantum in the title, Paul.
That does it.
Game Deck.
The Game Deck coming out later this year. I think it's coming out September.
Because I played the demo of that, but the demo was very limited.
Yeah, the demo's coming back. Oh, it might be an updated demo. I'm not sure. I think it's out
played
now.
the demo. That demo was a little bit too early, I felt. Like
It's and I don't know how early that demo was or how. So Game Deck is sort of like you in the future. You are a detective, but you detect crimes that happen in virtual game worlds because everyone's kind of like plugged into virtual reality all the time. So you like I'm going to go into the fantasy MMO and work out who stole this person's turnips. It's normally more serious than that, but
they're very nice turnips.
Yeah, so it's kind of like
They're farmed for hours.
bit cyberpunky, bit Disco Elysium. Let's see if we can reach the levels of either of those. Hopefully more Disco Elysium, but it would be good. A bunch of Steam 17 stuff. Back for Blood. They've delayed it. Probably a wise move, as long as they can make it better. There's another Warhammer game coming out.
Another one. Does it look the same as the others?
They all look the same.
Can
as
you tell the difference?
This one's VR, but it was a cinematic trailer, so I sort of skipped it. Bunch of little things going through this game, The Longest Road on Earth. I don't remember much about it except there was a mouse riding a bike.
Sounds good. I'm in.
Sold.
That's all I need to see. And then, actually, before we get to the very end, I think, Don't Forget Me, they showed off. And I'm like, oh, cool. A sequel to Red Strings Club. Hey, is that was one of the characters in Red Strings Club? I'm sure. I'm just going to go check it up. Nope. Nothing to do with that developer or game. They are inspired by it, though. So much so that I literally thought it was a sequel. So yeah, sort of a futuristic, politically motivated adventure game. It looks nice. Hopefully, because it's a studio I don't know what the writing will be like. But it seemed cool. If you liked Red Strings Club, or that, what was it? Zen and the Art of Transhumanism. That was sort of the spin-off of that. It could be in your wheelhouse. So Haunted Space was a space fight sim game.
It's quite a title.
It's good. It's a good title, isn't it? I like it. Yeah. They showed off Life is Strange as well. Sifu had a bit of a show. That's the Absolver's hand-to-hand fighting game.
You seen Humankind?
They did show off some Humankind.
Humankind, I guess that's like what's the name of the company? They do like the Endless games. I think it's A Amplitude or something like that, I think. Yeah. But yeah, it's Amplitude. Yeah, their take on Civ. So I'm pretty interested because they I like their stuff. Like they they don't just like go, oh, here's our Might and Magic clone, and here's our what's this spacey one. I think they did like a, oh god, what was it? Because there's Endless Space, Endless Legends, Dungeon of the Endless. I think
they're all the endless ones.
Yeah. And this is
was there? No.
And so they've done like they've done like a Master of Orion one, they've done like a Master of Magic one, and this is like their Civ take, and they're all like kind of interesting takes on the original concepts.
Of course, Martha is Dead, which is a DC horror game.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw the title.
I thought it was going to be a love game between two enemies bonding.
Two Marthas. Only one of us.
But which Martha
is dead? And they showed off a bunch of Kena Bridges spirits as well, which was nice. But yeah, it was a good show, but it was mostly just updates on games.
Yeah.
Like I have barely. I think there's like 40 games that they profiled, so it's nice to see, but it wasn't something to much watch. Now the next day, ID at Xbox, we've partnered with Twitch. I'm like, oh, that's annoying. I've got to load up Twitch. Twitch never streams well for me, so I'm like,
Really?
yeah. Admittedly, I don't try it very often. I just don't get Twitch. Like, oh, okay, this will be good. So first up, fucking hell, Twitch. You know what's good about presentations? When they're not 3 hours fucking long because you need to talk to everyone you show off, but you haven't really structured the discussion. It's just kind of like a meandering 15 minutes you give everyone. Thankfully, I forgot to wake up in time, so I was behind. So it meant I could go skip.
Yeah, anything that's hosted by Twitch has a lot of talking.
Oh god, and they don't know how. I was just like, the actual hosts were okay. They had to do banner and everything, but once it got into actually trying to then get everyone, like, it must have been a lot of work behind the scenes to get everyone lined up because they're doing it all live. Which again, I don't know why. Why do any of these segments live? Just pre-record it. It makes no difference. There's no interaction with the audience. So, and it also means that they got their B-roll is just the trailer that they've just shown going over and over again. So it's like, how about you just play the game for 20 minutes and give us some B-roll and actually talk about it? But no, so it's all pretty meaningless conversations that went on forever. But there was still cool stuff in it. So you can go there. So first up, something that might not be cool, but I hope is cool. Have you watched? I think I've seen it before. Exo Mecca.
Yes.
Exo Mecca looks like it's probably incredibly cheap. One of those games that I find out is made by one person, and I'm go like, wow, how did they do that? That's amazing. It's a futuristic war thing, seems to be played on quite barren islands, but you're a soldier that can sort of jump into any vehicle and just take it and shoot shit. And it starts quite low scale, shooting enemies and jumping in a helicopter or a tank. And then there's a big spider tank. And then there's like big giant Gundam style suits having sword fights. And then there's dragons. I'm like, none of this looks actually bad. I just feel like all the things they're showing and promising are probably a lot jankier than they appear. And I hope not. I hope this is like EDF times 1,000 and it's just awesome fun. I feel like it's probably not, but I hope inside me.
Hope is
you've seen it, have you? So yeah.
It's fucking, it's bonkers.
If it worked and it's fun, and I feel probably the biggest thing will just be like the actual level design. It's probably just going to be a bit monotonous and like, oh, there's a helicopter, jump in a helicopter,
little bit repetitive.
Yeah, but if it works. Oh, it's just the kind of goofy fun that I always dream of. Like EDF, like I always enjoy for like 3 levels. And I'm like, I get it. And then I move on. But yeah, if one could capture me, it'd be cool. Couple little things. So I hope I've got a list here actually. And we might stop on some of them because I think some of them are new. They had just announced a bunch of games coming to Game Pass. So some of these are new announcements. So I'll just focus on this a little bit first. Sorry. A bunch of stuff. So, Art of the Rally. I think it says Art of Rally. I think they're wrong on this list. It's actually already in early access, but it's, from what I hear, it's actually a somewhat realistic rally game, but it's played from like an old school sort of top-down isometric perspective with just like flat-shaded polys and like it's really stylish. But the actual driving model's quite realistic apparently. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. I like that one a lot. New game, I think it was new today. You'd be the one that would correct me if I'm wrong. Astria Ascending, which is like, I thought it was actually in the Final Fantasy universe, but don't think it is. It just looks very.
Don't know.
Oh, if you don't know what I am, I'm gonna move some stuff and show you, because Astria Ascending is it's turn-based RPG. Well, I mean, it's lots of walking around. But the turn-based aspect is the combat. It's, crew versus crew. I'll just see if I can pull it. There we go. Because you're going to really like this art style, I think. It's very much... It reminded me a little bit of Vanilla Soft, but if they had taken the art design from the covers of Final Fantasy games. So... Oh, yes. Way to go, Internet. Oh, no, it's making noise! Yeah, there we go. Apparently me changing the volume also paused it. And it didn't change the volume.
Ah, yes, I have seen this. Yes.
Yeah. It's...
I think they got assistance from Final Fantasy people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the team is from Final Fantasy, and they've actually they've worked with people who are still working on Final Fantasy stuff to help with things.
I like how most of this trailer is just a character walking across things.
Yeah. It's beautiful art.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think the comment of based on concept art and cover art of Final Fantasy stuff holds up? Yeah. So yeah, that was great. So that's also day one Game Pass. So that's cool. I actually found it. You know how the first game I said is already in early access. If it's not out, it's like day one Game Pass does have some caveats to it, doesn't it? Backbone. I don't remember what that is, unfortunately. Boyfriend Dungeon is coming. I've been waiting for that for ages. That'll be great. Craftopia. Do you remember Craftopia?
Yes, it's still on my Steam wish list.
The one with a million giraffes running in wheels.
I still kind of want it.
Oh, yes, yeah.
There's some weird, I don't know what we're a rip-off of Breath of the Wild.
It's every
Factorio.
Game. It's every game.
It's the every game.
It's the Harvest Moon Satisfactory Breath of the Wild.
Dead Static Drive.
It's finally out.
No, it's not out. It's coming.
It's awesome.
One day. That's the big thing. Because actually, I don't know if we mentioned on this show. Cut in with big news. PAX Australia is happening this year, which is a bit of a shit because I'm getting surgery the day beforehand.
I'm trying to decide if I want to.
Yeah,
I'm still going to skip it this year.
I probably will.
But someone has to go and represent us, Sam.
So I'll go then.
Yeah,
done.
Yeah.
Lock it in. Get me a pass.
Yes, because one of the things I said is, but I needed to see how much of a game Dead Static Drive was this year because I think it's been there. I don't think it's there the first PAX, but I think it's been there every PAX since.
I will go just to tell you that one thing, and then I'll come home.
Good. That's like my little PAX fetish. It's like what's changed this year?
It's gonna be interesting what it is this year.
Yeah.
Because yes, they can run it. Yes, they have to run it at limited numbers based on the current rules.
No, can they get anyone from overseas?
Yeah. Who's going to actually be there as far as...
What's the expo hall floor going to look like?
Yeah, well, I mean, Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony all have people in Australia.
Yeah.
So they can still have their booths. Most of the indie stuff was...
There was so much support for
Australian, New Zealand.
You know, it's just going to be the Aussie Indie show.
It might actually be better.
It's probably going to be good.
What will probably suffer is some of the bigger panels, but also it's not like Australia doesn't have anyone of note.
It'll be truly PAX Australia.
Yeah.
It won't just be PAX in Australia.
Yeah.
It'll be an actually Australian one.
But also there might be not that many playable games on the floor because they don't want people having to handle things. I mean, just
sanitary for
just this weekend up here, we've had 2 breakouts of COVID.
Probably going to be locked down tomorrow.
Probably tomorrow there'll be an announcement, and we won't be doing this show without masks for a few weeks or something. Maybe we'll see. I think they're really trying to do everything they can to avoid shutting it down over Easter,
especially because Easter's coming.
Yeah. So it's going to be. They put lots of provisos if you can't travel because of COVID, or they'll refund everything.
Which is good.
But that does, you still got to get tickets, plane tickets, hotels.
Yeah, I'm currently fighting Virgin because we're supposed to be going to Sydney next month.
Yeah.
And we've decided not to. And now I went to cancel and refund, and it said, yes, we'll refund you to the payment you made, you bought these tickets with, and then I did it, and I have it in Virgin credit instead.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, where do I trade this in? Where do I get the actual money? Can I buy the Virgins with it? It literally said on the page before this, will be sent to the payment method, and then it's like, but also your payment method is our credit bank. What?
Yeah, thanks for that.
Cool.
It actually it'll be if we lock down. I didn't even think about this. I'm going to the theater on Wednesday.
Maybe.
Well, our Sydney trip was for Hamilton.
Oh yes.
So that's now cancelled. Basically, we've decided not to.
So yes, it annoys me partly because PAX is something I really, really love going to. It's like my thing each year. I put together panels and I get very excited for it, and I put a lot of effort into it.
And the digital one just didn't really work.
Yeah, it's just so it wasn't what we were involved in. It wasn't. But missing out on one's like, oh, do I get out of the loop? Do they forget who I am if I've been going along too long? I need my validation as a human being.
No, don't worry.
Do you get...
Next year they'll have us.
I'll ask them to send me a media
Does
pass.
everyone
just
cancel you because they're annoyed because there's no best worst video games panel? So
Exactly.
You just get cancelled.
It's the best panel there is. We wanted to
like,
make trash.
Paul, he's broken our hearts.
We wanted to make the Trash Enthusiast Society like a thing.
Yeah.
And it went 1 year, and then COVID, and now this. And now me with my stupid surgery. Jesus. I'm going to cancel it all for PAX. Okay, other things coming. Hello Neighbor 2's day one. Little Witch in the Woods. A new game called Moonglow Bay.
Is that the...
I have to double check which one that is.
I
think it's like a top-down-ish.
Yeah, like a pixely... Almost
I don't
like...
think it's that pixely.
I swear I've seen things about it. Or something of a different witch game.
There are a few, but I'm trying... Oh, don't have the fucking trailer on this page.
Later.
Yeah, I'll just look at it later. I couldn't remember the details of that one.
I thought Moonglow Bay looked cute.
Yeah,
sort
it's
of like a fishing kind of harvest moon is how they described it.
Yeah, with a voxely style, with just like a nice shader over the whole thing.
I'm not a big fan of the voxely style. Not really my thing.
I quite like it.
It looked okay.
It reminded me a little bit of that tourist game. The tourist game. It's called The Tourist. That was on Switch last year. I think it was on other platforms. But yeah, I quite like. But one of the things I did get is that voxel density. Well, that can change quite significantly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like, oh, look at the letters. They're this big, but next to it they've got something with voxels half the size.
Yeah,
like,
be consistent. Yeah.
Yeah. They're on a boat and they've made like the rescue rubber rings, the lifesavers. They're squares, but the pixel density could at least have made them hexagons. You bastards. Naruto Boy, but we already knew about that. In fact, I think that's out today or tomorrow. Then the new Drinkbox Studios game, Nobody Saves the World, which the Drinkbox, if you're not aware of their work, primarily known for Guacamelee and Severed, which are three games that I really, really love, and so I was looking forward to this. It is top-down RPG action adventure. Not sure if it's got any roguelike stuff in it, but what it definitely has is you are a nobody, you're literally nothing trying to save the world, and you sort of take on the roles of other things, a little bit like a Balan Wonderworld. And it seems that each sort of ability you collect, it's like skin, persona, or whatever they're referring to them as. It's just like a single ability you get, and you can utilize that. And it's a bit of a cartoony art style, which isn't that strong, I think. I was like, I hope this is good, but it doesn't excite me. I was a bit sad about that one because they've been so good. Severed is such a unique game.
That's the it's like a dungeon crawler thing.
Yeah, it's first person dungeon crawler that's step based, so it's like old school, like grid based moving around, and all the combat is touchscreen. So it's all about like it's a bit like Punch Out. It's a bit like a puzzle game. It's a bit there's nothing else like it. It's really cool, and it's got this cool sort of South American style art style to the whole thing. It's like, yeah, it's rad. And now it's just like, hey, look, it's a top-down cartoony dungeon crawler. I've got 100 of those that I haven't played yet. So hopefully they can still differentiate themselves with gameplay. But yeah, on the outside, no. Omno is coming, which I'm very excited for. Which is, as we were saying before, I get excited by single developer games. This is one of those, but this is we'll call it a journey-like. There's been a demo on PC, and it's just fucking great. I love that game. It's one of those games. It's one of those things where you see a game, you're like, oh yeah, it looks good, but I bet it doesn't feel great. And then you touch it and go, oh, it feels awesome. Thank you very much. I will get this immediately. And now I will, because it'll be on Game Pass. Perfect. Day one. A game called Recompile, which is just sort of let's call it a Tron-like. They had a demo at Steam sale, Steam demo like last year. It was fine. Sable, Dreams Elsewhere, Stalker 2 is going to be their day one. And I reckon that day one is going to be sometime in the year 2025.
It's still day one though.
Yeah. So Stalker 2 gave us an update oh, sorry, I don't know what accent I was about to start, but I bailed immediately.
It's Russian, right? So.
No, I don't know what it was. It's called sorry. I was like, oh wait, was that getting into some sort of?
It's getting a little racist.
It's getting it was too.
Yeah,
I like my undefined accents because I can't really be called racist, but also they don't always come out as anything listenable. But yeah, they said sorry, we don't have a new trailer. I know why, because the game doesn't exist. But we have this great update for you, and then showed off. Check out these boots we rendered. And they literally started with boots. Like, oh yeah, the rubber shader's really good, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Where's the game?
And then they showed a gun, and then they showed somebody's static face. I'm like, okay,
It's this concept art.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Get
not,
excited.
It's not, like I'm going to believe that you did model and texture these assets.
It's just gone to someone's art
No,
station.
they got to the asset store or.
No, I'm giving them the
that
benefit of
was,
the doubt.
that was one of the things I missed on
Yeah.
Subverse. When it throws into the tutorial for the strategy aspect, the space pirate enemies you're fighting, I need to go find out what game they're from.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it was from one of the big, like, these are all our premium assets, but we're releasing them for free.
Oh, yeah. I heard
So
they're
they
from Paragon.
They spawn in, and then the main one's just like, oh crap, the captain doesn't like us being in porn games. And then one day, one of the underlings is like, yeah, but you knew it was going to happen eventually when you release all your assets for free anyway.
That's
it was fucking
right.
funny. I need to go find out what game it was from.
The Ascent, which is that cool top-down co-op-y twin-stick shootery thing, which was more of a game than twin-stick than we just realized at first. Sci-fi thing. It looked good. Undungeon is coming. Way to the Woods. And Wild at Heart. Wild at Heart was a game I talked about last year, which was just like really, really, really pretty 2D art, but maybe not that fun to play. But really pretty. It looked like a little golden book, but better. But anyway, so that's just the games that were announced as coming to
Game Pass.
Game Pass on day one. Now, if you notice now as we're moving down this list, James,
Oh,
this is the
jeez.
games they showed.
That's a lot of games.
So we're not going to go through
we
all
don't have
of
to go
those.
through all this, Paul.
That's a big list.
No. So I do have a short list already, which is quite short. Which the first one was Exo Mecca, which was cool.
Yeah.
We actually started already. Moonglow Bay, we've already spoken about. Nobody Saves the World. Astria Ascending, we've already done. Now to my pick of the show. My most excited thing.
Which this one I am both skeptical and optimistic for at the same time.
Look, I can never guarantee that a game will be good, but I do know when a game is interesting.
Oh, it is.
And this was good. So it starts off, and it's a pixely dungeon crawler. And I'm like,
With in a plague mask.
Yes, you got a plague mask on. And the animation immediately is very smooth, very high frame rate. I'm like, okay, cool. It looks responsive, but still, I've still got a lot of them. Here we go. Okay, finding a couple of things fun. Okay, they seem to be underground. He runs, there's a bit of water around. He runs onto a platform, and, ooh, what just happened there? So this game is based sort of underground in a river system, and there are lots of platforms around, and those platforms are kind of shaped like Tetris pieces. And when you're standing on one, you can send it moving. From what you can see in the game, you can send it to go up, down, left, or right.
Yeah.
I assume you hit the D-pad. This is my feelings at the time. And what this makes is a really weird flow of game.
It's a sliding block puzzle game
Yes.
that is also an action RPG.
And I was a little disappointed to find out it's procedural, but that might still be fine. Because procedural doesn't just mean it's a bunch of random shit. They can still have a lot of structure to it.
And the puzzles could just be, like, the block puzzles might be random.
Well, I also, at least from what we've seen, the moving of the blocks isn't necessarily like you need to be high-end puzzle, but you need to respond quickly.
The bit that I got skeptical about was more just a personal thing where I'm not a big fan of sliding block puzzles. Just as a mechanic, I don't really like them that much. And I can't fault the game for that.
Yeah.
But what I liked was it's got sliding blocks, but how it was being used kept like being interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I think the first thing they show is like, it's like a horde thing where it's like there's these zombies which run really fast, and you're actually using the blocks to like redirect them. They'll always run towards you. So it's like you go to one position to get them to run towards you, and make a long path back to another version, another when you shift, and then like, oh, okay, it's interesting. And then there'd be like some bits where the puzzles were getting stuck and like making little fighting arenas, and
Yeah, like they'd lock in place.
Yeah.
Like a really basic one showing off concept of in combat. So there was a lot of running away, which I found interesting in it.
Yeah,
like,
that was like the horde stuff was like more like redirect the horde and then try to go
things
around
you and you're just jumping from one block to another and
Yeah.
sliding them away as fast as possible and actually avoiding combat. But then just the very basic one enemy on one block, you're on another one. You quickly slide the block over, you hit it, and then you slide the block away before it swings. So it's like, that'll be a completely different rhythm to any other game that I play. I'm literally moving the geometry we're on to fight, and that's kind of cool. As I say, I can never guarantee a game is good or not, but once it showed its hand, I was like, this is a combination I've never thought of, and this is potentially very cool.
Because what it made me think was like someone had a very interesting idea.
Uh-huh.
That idea may be terrible, but it might be good.
Interesting.
And then they built a very polished looking game on top of it.
Oh, yeah.
So at a very core level, this game may be very flawed. Maybe.
Yeah.
But what they built on top is very good.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was also just in the trailer, whenever those states would change, like, so when the blocks locked together and it created an arena.
Yeah.
Game never told us that. That scene was 5 seconds long, if that. But we all knew what it meant.
Oh, yeah.
It was so readable.
A sticky thing came out. I was like, I got it straight away.
There's one where, like, they're trying to pull the platform away and there's, like, sort of viscera in
tendrils,
between.
yeah.
It's like, it's holding. It's like, I know how to play that game, I think, in my brain, because it does seem incredibly readable, even though it's one of the weirdest ideas I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Which is just down to great design. It's like, don't overcomplicate the core gameplay. It's like, just focus on this one thing. It looks like they've done it, but we'll find out.
I'm very interested in that one.
Very soon. Next up, a game I sent your lovely wife, but you didn't respond. I should start badgering her about it. Soup Pot. Which is a cooking game, but pretty much just focused on sort of making more of your stews, more of your hot pot sort of thing.
Oh.
Which was, I thought, an interesting take because
I really feel like hot pot.
Have you seen the trailer?
No.
Okay, I'm going to load it up here. You at home, load up the trailer as well. So
Watch along with us.
Yeah, come on in, everyone. This is a communal event. This is good. I'll just type in the word pot, and I'm sure that'll find it. The soup pot. What? This doesn't have a trailer on it. This page. This is not what I signed up for. No, there we go. There's the trailer.
And now that the people at home have finished watching the trailer,
Everyone gets in. Okay, I'm going to turn down this volume and see if we can actually have it turned down this time.
Not pause.
You stupid website. Oh, it's got an ad because it's not signed into my YouTube. Okay, that's fine. Hey, that looks like my sister-in-law, but it's not. Okay, we're just going to wait for that. So yeah, it's a cooking game with a realistic render, but it's almost like a little bit stop motion-y or something. But I kind of like them focusing on one area of cooking because it means that they can actually kind of make it an actual cooking game instead of just like...
instead of cooking sim.
Yeah, instead of Cooking Mama or something like that. We'll see how it actually turns out, but I thought I think it's pretty funky. Oh yes, and there's a social network cookbook in it.
Is it like with actual people, or it's just
I don't know. I just saw the trailer. Stop asking me questions. I know as much as you do. It's like...
Do you do something in the game and then Uber Eats delivers it?
Oh, okay.
oh, that'd be amazing.
That's some good looking pork. Got some eggs. Oh no, they're not eggs. They're like buns.
Things. Yeah, little bun things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just making me hungry.
Yeah. Well, I know how much you like a hot pot.
I do love hot pot a lot. I haven't had hot pot in a while. Hot pot is not the most baby-friendly food to eat because there's lots of hot water splashing around everywhere. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a few good food games coming out at the moment. But yeah, Soup Pot.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think that's kind of cool. I like a good cooking game, and there's not very many of them. So, yes. No, don't give me an ad. Go away. How do I stop an ad from ever playing?
You don't.
The NRL is
how
back.
They get you.
Do you like the NRL?
Oh, no, you thought you could stop it.
It's just stopping and playing constantly. Stop. Go away.
Can't win.
Never come back.
Okay.
And then probably the last game to talk about was Death's Door, which was your a crow or a raven, one of the two, and it's a little bit Zelda-like dungeon crawlery, but with like a good art style to it. But the thing that I really like in this, the boss designs are spectacular. So it's more action adventure-y, Zelda-y going around doing dungeons. But yeah, one of the bosses like a little castle that fights you.
That's
I
cute.
like that one. It's got some really it really struck me as a great art style. I can't remember who the developer was. It was someone that I knew, I think. There's so many things this last week that it is crows that are in charge. It's supposed to go out. Don't say who the developer is. Thanks, website. It's great. I'm just gonna make this. Everyone just go and watch trailers.
Go watch trailers, sure.
And what's the ad?
Good old ads.
Ads
It's the
and
same
trailers.
ad. We've seen this ad. We saw that horse. We saw that lady. Don't pause.
It's cool.
See it again.
James can watch all of the trailers as I go.
That's the horse trailer.
Oh no, that's not the full
Don't
screen
pause
button.
the trailer.
You be a trailer. Everything's good. What's a game I need to talk about?
Oh, that's a nice style.
Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah, it's like it's a whole crow world.
It's like a low poly crow world.
Why don't we just make this show watching things and talking?
It's just
But no, we can't actually let people see
there's
what
just
we're
something
watching.
about like
no,
when birds are
they're
done
not
correctly.
allowed to see it.
Yeah.
But I'll just put the links in the show notes. Load up this.
So
at
it's
this
like it's
time
like a
code.
reaction podcast, but we don't actually show them what we're reacting to.
I
Why
like
do we tell
like
them?
there's just something about when birds are animated correctly, like the head fucking like the movements. I love it.
See this, and this is what's good about showing you things we haven't seen,
constant
because you're
head
like,
tilting.
oh, I heard what you said, Paul, but I didn't really picture it. I didn't really understand this
Paul
crow
just said,
world.
"You're a crow." I'm like, what?
Oh no.
It
He's
was
been
like,
given a mission to go
awesome.
kill a tentacle lady. Time to head off. You got to go to death's door.
is it actually a door?
I think so.
I hope
It's
so.
an elevator first.
I believe it's a
I was
literal
promised
door.
a door.
Looks like it.
Oh yeah,
There you go.
It's a pretty good door.
I like that we get a through the legs of a crow shot.
You go, little bird. Yeah, that bird's
I'm fully
animated
on
pretty
board
well.
with this.
All right. Now you get to
What?
see some of the fights. Actually, I wonder if it is. Oh no, they've got things in between
Okay, yeah,
fights.
I like this. I immediately like this.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna say watch the trailer if you haven't. It's got some really good animation, some really good design on enemies. It's got nice movement.
Do you think it'll scratch your Hades itch?
Well, Hades is scratching my Hades itch still,
Death's Door,
but I think it'll be in the list.
the deadliest door.
Oh, it's a Devolver Digital thing as well.
Yes. Oh, that might be what I was trying to remember. Devolver.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I got excited. I always get excited when we get Devolver because we've got good
Yeah.
contacts at
So
Devolver.
you would likely
But it
get-
is. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that one is Game
And
Pass
they
Day
just
one.
pick good things.
They do.
They're a good
They
publisher.
really do.
Yeah.
Although they did distribute. Oh no! I was going to say Annapurna's like that, and then I had to second my guess myself because they just released Marquette, which is
Fantastic.
no, it is not. But I might have to save that for another day because I think we need to wrap up soon. So I just need to do what else we. I did mention at the beginning Blood and Truth, so I have to mention that now because I
That's the
mentioned at
rule.
the beginning. It's
Yeah.
the rule.
It's the intro.
So I finally hooked up my PSVR to my PS5. And it works really well.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice, it's comfortable, works. It's the same thing. Everything I've done is it's solid, but it was always pretty solid. I only used to run it on a base PS4. But I did buy a new game, which was a while ago. I bought Blood and Truth because I heard that they did some upgrades for PS5. Only problem with this, it's patched. I don't know what it ran like before.
Yeah.
But you know what game's really cool? Blood and Truth. It's very, very cinematic, which is fine because that's what it's going for. Like, you know, you start off, you're being interrogated, and I'm looking at the guy's face going, oh, that is well rendered. Yeah, dear. Good thing that you locked me in one position, so the eye line's always pretty much right. Yeah, this is good. This is solid. I'm like, start moving your hands around. Can go through the table. Can I pick this up? Oh, good. Because VR is you can never be
The
serious.
first
with
thing
it.
you do in VR is like,
try to
what can
break
I
it.
throw
Yeah.
at
What
something
can move?
else?
Will they react to it? And you're a military man, so the first thing in the game is you're extracting somebody that's been captured, and I can't remember where you were. And it's interesting because it is a shooting gallery.
Yeah.
Like it's not trying to pretend it's not, but you do have control. But also because it's designed as a seated experience, as most PSVR games are, that makes it really interesting. So you can point where you want to go and you walk there. Only it's set positions. But they're never going to spawn anything behind you. So that's part of it. So if you can move forward, you know that you're safe to move forward. There's nothing coming out. There might be still things in the far forward coming out of it, but you know that they're sort of done showing things at that level. But 90% of the time, you can still move sideways. So they'll have like 3 or 4 fixed things around. So say, you are under cover and it's taking fire, you can run to the other side of the cover and pop up and shoot. And like, especially with cover in VR, like nothing ever makes blind firing feel better than VR. It's like, I know you're on the other side, I'm just going to pop this over the top. Including the locomotion feels really good, and get any sickness, and that's you running along rooftops and jumping, and then you get in a car and you're firing at the car. It's all big set pieces because it is all a linear scripted shooting gallery, so they can do cool stuff. And then after the intro, it's like, okay, that's just who you are, but now you've had to be pulled back to London where you're based because you are a member of a crime family, but you're like the son that went off to be like, he joined the military instead of being like a criminal like everyone else, but you're back because your dad's died, and now someone's trying to hostile take over your crime syndicate, and you've been pulled into it. So it's just like, it's really impressive on the VR level. Everything works. I don't hate the story and the characters, which for me is normally, I just want to skip.
Yeah.
And if you do, sorry, you can't skip. You got to sit through it in VR. But just a really solid VR experience.
Okay.
It's good. It works. I've only played it seated. And considering you can be quite active, climbing up ladders and shooting down.
I'm glad it's the seated experience.
Just top half active.
Yeah. And they just worked out some smart things to do. I don't know how long it is yet because I haven't finished it. But yeah, it's I'm enjoying just running through. And overall, PSVR has been fine on the PS5. I am interested to see what they do in the future. But before we finish up, was there anything that you guys want to chuck in before we did?
Not hugely important. I picked up Dyson Sphere, which is Factorio in space.
Put much time into it yet?
About 20 hours.
So you've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, barely scratched. Like, I've only just unlocked interplanetary stuff. But if you like
early access?
It's early access, but it feels finished.
I'm getting a bit
like,
I want more games to finish.
It feels like it should be finished,
Yeah.
but it's weird. It's always weird with like automation type games because I think it's a weirder genre to call finished or to call early access.
I think they can still version 1 it at some point.
Yeah, like you look at what Satisfactory's done.
Yeah.
And that was early access for a long time because it was not done. And then like they've called it 1.0, and then the big patches, the big updates that have been coming out and going into early access testing and then being released. It's just the next tier of technology.
Something has happened in Steam now. They haven't really pushed it much yet. We got into it with Sky. It's a Steam playtest.
Yes.
And this is great because big problem with early access is it's like this buy thing where it's like, you bought it and then now like when you release it, there's actually no additional sales.
No, because everyone's got it.
It's sort of like weird. And I do like early access for some things.
It's a useful tool. I think it's being used incorrectly.
Yeah, and I kind of hope that when playtest gets rolled out more, there are more things which just like... Yeah, it's
like in my head,
legitimately just like playtesting things.
Yeah. And early access is like Baldur's Gate's kind of doing it. It's going, here's all the mechanics of the game we want to build. Make sure they work, please.
Yeah.
Like help us make sure they work. Yeah. But it's not the game.
Yeah. Early access can mean so many things. It's like some games have been amazing in early access and they've been great to play from day one, and going through that journey is interesting, and sometimes it's just a crux of like, we might never finish this, we're just going to put something out and see how it goes, and if it doesn't get an audience, we won't even bother.
Yeah.
Like Valheim could have just released as 1.0, I reckon. It's a pretty complete game.
Dyson Sphere, it's the same. It's like, it could be a 1.0, but they've
just held it back for some reason.
It's just not the roadmap.
Maybe they're just lacking confidence.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like just...
The real...
It's like, we're not sure.
Like, the real 1.0 was inside you all along.
Version 1 it, and then release everything as free updates. And it's the same thing. Like, you're still... I don't know. Yeah. Maybe consumer expectations are just different, and they'll be like, I couldn't play this thing for 5,000 hours, so it's not version 1 yet. Yeah, Steam's a bit weird.
People is weird. Okay, I'm going to bring that to an end today. So thank you for joining us for 8.5bit. You can check us out on our website, 8.5bit.com, our Twitter and Facebook. Please like and share anything you like on that. Subscribe to us on whatever the hell you want. And join us on our Discord, discord.8.5bit.com. And you can catch me sometimes on Z Games on 4ZZZ, which is a thing that I do sometimes. Won't be on for 2 weeks though, because I'm not going to be there this week. I'll either be COVID or in the theatre.
Still listen even if Paul's
you can listen to other people there. Yeah. There's some fine people there.
Some wonderful people.
Yeah. And none of them are birds. Don't know why that matters, but you know.
We swear.
Yeah, there's no swearing allowed on that show.
I mean, like, you swear, none of them are birds.
I swear none of them are, but also I swear a lot on this show.
Yes.
Get it out of your system.
Yeah, it's true. I got to get it all out here. Okay, catch you all later, folks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.